was fast, cleanup guy. Holy shit. You typed faster than anyone in YouTube did. And I went live there first. Hey guys. Darktide's broken? Wait, is it actually broken like today? Why has it broken today? Hey, Pretzel, thanks for joining. Remember to link up to the Discord. Christmas tier list. There you go, there's your presents. I might still do the voiceover thing. But I was too lazy, I'd take some naps. This looks cool. I didn't know you could make your game be in whatever language that is. Japanese? Well, that sounds like Mr. Self has a problem. I'm supposed to make a But the bots are trying. Look, the bots are learning though. That's what that's showing. The bots are they're trying to do the speedrun strat. That's all it is. This person reposted part of the trailer art. Okay, yeah, you see me use that in thumbnails. That's part of the like stuff that was in the trailer. And the Steam forums are wild place. Who drew this? The Chud versus Reddit? Hmm. Gunlugger Ogren? Why though? Like, but not with like the actual freaking Alright, let's see this negative review. Okay, let's see how accurate this is. Oh, it's even small. How did that get smaller when I click on it? Enemies blend into the background. Enemies attack you without even looking at you. Still noticeable on POC sounds. 80% of builds and equipment are objectively better than others. Wait. Aren't 100% of like things better than other things? I don't know. I will start 99%. Instead of buffing or nerfing builds, Fat Shark does nothing. Specials blend into the background and audio cues and sound cues. They blend into the background? What the fuck? Okay. Bombers instantly activate if you're next to where. Oh, exploders. Which still isn't marked. Frequent crashes are prominent memory leaks. Fair enough. Maps blend together don't feel nig. Fair enough. Flasks feel the same because most abilities are percentage increase or revolve around increasing toughness. I guess. I don't know. Combat abilities need to be more unique than a percent increase. Well, there's like 3 of those. Okay, I can't fucking. It's too much reading for my brain. I gotta save my energy for reading all these talents. Oh, I gotta pull up Games Lantern. Rage quit review. Yeah, I mean, for like how much shit is going on in Darktide, it's impressive that as much stuff, like, that you can hear as much stuff as you can, you know what I mean? This guy got banned. Good way to get good at it. Hive Scum is shooting straight cast Desperado style for practice. Spelled the wrong way. I've just gone from having 20 to having 40 solo. Top 3 class in the game? That's pitiful. There's no way. There's no way. Not at current day. Oh look what it is. All right. What's our audio balance sound all right, guys? Any controversial Darktide opinions? Remove the flame staff from the game. There you go. What about that? What the fuck is Dong Talk? Oh, Darktide. Dong Talk. I was like, Mega Bonk? I haven't played that in a bit. I will keep up the content. I can't promise it'll always be fantastic, but we'll do what we can. All right. I kind of like how like all this talent tree is crammed over here, because then when I edit this and crop it down, it won't be all fucked up. Sweet. Oh, you're here? Okay, good. I was waiting. Yeah, I was very patiently waiting for you guys. All right, well. The main issue with the flame staff is the power creep and otherwise, I don't know what that means. The main issue with the flame staff, I think, is the flame staff. I think what they should do with the flame staff is just make it have like it's like a infinite ammo flamethrower, but like you only have a certain amount of energy, and if you expend all the fucking energy in the staff, then you have to like let it recharge. And then you can also explode while you have it too. Yeah, or flame staff literally does like one gout and you're overcapped, but people like having lots of peril. And the way that peril works currently is like, if you start casting your flame blast when you're at 99% peril, you're okay, you don't overload. Yeah, literally just make it, if you want to, the flame staff is just the only staff that gets hot, and in order to quell peril with it, you have to sacrifice HP to do it. Just like Sienna. That was like how they balanced Sienna, was he had to sacrifice HP in order to do it. No, I don't think giving the flame staff higher peril would do anything. Because think about it, people already run flame staff with like minimal peril generation. They want the peril. They're hungry for it. Guys, I got a huge ass Stanley Cup for Christmas. I'll turn my fucking AC on in here. Yeah, I think that I think that the flame staff, that was the thing I was going to say the other night. I don't remember if I did say it. I think the flame staff should just not have that suppression effect it does. It makes every ranged enemy panic because it's just so safe. You just walk up to enemies and they're like, oh no, I give up. I give up. Okay. Cool. One flame stack for 10 seconds. Sure, something like that could work. 1% chance of you becoming a demon host. Oh, what about the flame staff just does friendly fire? It's the only weapon in the game you can grief with and just do friendly fire. Then the community would like do it for you, right? You wouldn't even have to nerf it. Like the fucking community would just be like outraged. Do not fucking bring flame staff. You suck. And then everyone would just like, yeah, chastise the psychers until they just quit playing with it. You get kicked from games if you played flame staff. Problem fixed. Wasn't that so funny in Vermintide when you would like be like, all right, Alpha, I need you to shoot me in the head a couple times. I need low HP, bro. I don't know, how many people really play Psyker? Not a whole lot. I don't think. In comparison to other stuff. Happy holidays, guys, over on Twitch. Alright, guys, well. We are joined here to do yet another tier listing thingamabobby. Make certain my screens are set up. Alright, everyone, hello there. We are tier listing today. We are tier listing everything on the Hive Scum tree. This is going to be quite an involved process. You see I've got all my talents here. This is the whole top half of the tree. I mean, what we're going to be doing is flipping back and forth between this and hopefully I can go to this page right here. And our actual reading the talents out over here on the Games Lantern page. So if you are not watching this, but instead podcast style listening to it, hopefully I'll have a better enunciation of words, but I will be reading out all of the talents so that you know what I'm freaking talking about, because a lot of these talents are quite new, so I could definitely forgive you for not knowing exactly what they mean just yet. And then we'll be flipping back and forth and assigning a rank to each of them. Now, as per times I've done this in the past, I've done it with every other class, I think. Maybe I'd skip Psyker. Maybe I should go do Psyker at some point. But currently, as it stands, what I usually do is my S tier rankings go to the absolute essential talents, like the ones that every build, or most every build that can kind of slot them, just should. Then the A tiers are the ones where it's like, okay, if you have a build that's focused around such and such thing, this is a solid pickup. You'll definitely want to make that the next thing you spend your points on. B tiers are alright. They're like nice flavor nodes if you really don't have anything else to pick or you want that effect for whatever reason. They're okay, but they're not going to really tilt the power scale either which way. C tier are just like a straight negative thing to take. Like there's a better option, and the only reason I could see you taking a C tier talent is like if you're going for some sort of meme build that needs one certain special interaction. That would be a good justification for you taking a C tier talent. And then D tiers just don't take this. These talents are like incredibly underpowered, poo-poo bad. Just no real reason to be investing in this and just need a rework. So there you go. Okay. Well, with that being said, as I said before, this is the top part of the tree. As you can see here on the Games Lander page, it's quite vertical here, so it's just split. Don't be confused by what you're seeing there. And of course, I'll put the, well, not for you guys that are live, but I'll put the ADHD corner up here. I know I got some complaints about this last time being too distracting, so don't worry, guys. There'll be no shenanigans in editing with that this time. Pay no mind to the ADHD corner. Now, let's go ahead here and start at the top here. We've got our top 3 choices. Now, notably, there's going to be something a little bit different about the Hive Scum's tier list because, like, for most other classes, there is just sort of like one way-ish to play the game. Oh, and thank you, Cleanup Guy, for gifting subs. Gifted 5 subs. Yay. But this class obviously has a very strict sort of polarized range versus melee option. So when I rank something S tier for, like, I'll specify whether I'm talking about, oh, this is for a melee build, or this is for a range build, or this is for both. I'll actually like verbally specify it rather than having to give it 2 rankings for both different types of builds. So that will apply very shortly at the top here. Okay, well, let's go up here and start at the top here with In Your Face. 25% range damage against targets within 12.5 meters, scaling down to a minimum of 10% at 30 meters and beyond. So this is a really, really solid ranged damage buff. 12.5 meters is not a very short distance. It's actually quite far. So you get a lot of value out of this, and you only start to lose like value at like 20-ish meters, but even at 10%, you know, there's a lot of nodes in the game. We always make this joke about like 15% damage being a powerful node. You know, just RPGs would just stack 15% damage nodes. This is 25%, and when you're going range, this is just a no-brainer. It's also right at the top of the tree, 1 point, guaranteed pick. So this has got to be an S tier talent here. That's so much damage, right? That is just a crazy, crazy amount of damage for 1 point. And that's how you're incentivized to play. Now, is this visible? Or should I make that a different color? Hopefully it's visible. All right, let's color. Yeah, color seems fine. It's a little bit greener than the talent there. Okay, let's go on to our second node here, which is called Quick and Deadly. Quick and Deadly is plus 15% close range damage for 3 seconds after a successful dodge. So this is actually incorrectly worded right now as far as I understand. Currently, it is all damage within close range, so all damage dealt within 12.5 meters of your character will get this 15% damage buff. That includes like enemies that are standing in damage over time effects and stuff, as far as I understand. And I believe that this is how it is supposed to work. I believe that it is supposed to affect all enemies within that range of you, and not it just being ranged damage. So if they nerfed it to only be, you know, range damage, it would be obviously a lot worse. But as it stands, 15% damage, just being generally applicable, and we dodge quite often. I think this is an A tier perk. It isn't active all the time. It isn't like the most powerful thing in the world. It is just 3 seconds, and it's a pretty small buff in the grand scheme of the number of buffs that this class gets. But I think that yeah, 15% is definitely worthy of an A tier here. I just don't think it's like build defining. I could see going a range build and leaving this off there. Then we have over here, oops, wrong thing. We have a Tertian Welcome, 15% melee damage on first enemy hit with each attack. So this is only going to apply to your first target of your melee hit, not to any cleaved targets. That's just how it's worded there. Obviously, this is really, really good for a lot of Hive Scum's weapons that are single target potential, like the daggers, that are very, very, very strong. So 15% damage to them is quite nice, because those multipliers take effect. The problem with talents like this on the Hive Scum is that the Hive Scum has so many other boosts to your melee damage in general that this ends up not being all that much in the grand scheme of things, right? So like this ends up being only 1/5 the value of a rampage, for instance, like, or not rampage, whatever this is called. Yeah, rampage. When rampage is active, that's only 1/5 of that same value. So 15% melee damage on that first enemy. I don't think it's like all that crazy. I still think it's A tier. Definitely you would take this if you were going for a melee build. But outside of that, I'm not like super duper thrilled with it. If you, I mean, I would still take it. But honestly, I don't know. If I'm doing a melee build, maybe this node here on that 15% on dodge is better just because it's more versatile and it allows you to cleave as well. Coming down into the second row, though, we have some of our toughness generating talents. Voice of Tertium here. Replenish 8% toughness on range kill. Elites and specials instead replenish 15% toughness. Okay, so I mean, this is a really solid way of regenerating your toughness. For range builds, there's not a whole lot of toughness regeneration, so I think this one is definitely quite strong. 8% toughness on any kill on ranged is the best in the game, because like the veteran can get a 5% buff, and we consider Out for Blood to be an S tier talent. You know, the fact that you can regain toughness on range. And this is really good. This enables you to just spray into a horde and get all your toughness back, and it also enables you to get double that value when you kill elites and specials, which is quite easy to do with the way this character works out. I don't remember if this applies to the toxin damage. I think that it doesn't, but in the same vein, like most of the weapons are not using the toxin, so I won't really hold that against it. And this also does apply to rocket launchers, so shoot the rocket launcher at your feet when you're like low in toughness and just blow everything up and get all your toughness back. So we like that. I would say that this is an S tier talent here. It's just a solid defensive talent, and you're definitely going to need it in terms of in the framework of Hive Scum. Defensive talents like this are just god tier because there's just so few of these talents. Then we'll go on to this talent over here, which is called Precision Violence. Melee hits replenish 4% toughness. Melee crit strikes and weak spot hits give 8%. Critical weak spot strikes replenish 12%. I think in the same way, this one is also going to get that S tier ranking. Reason being, we are a lightning fast attacker. We have over 50% of that critical strike chance, which means that if you can aim for headshots, which you should be already doing with your melee attacks, then you are getting at least 8% on every single enemy you hit. And this is melee hits, not melee attacks. So cleaving a horde can give you multiple back at the same time. We can hit multiple enemies. And so therefore cleave with things like rampage can just give you huge swaths of toughness back in single hits. When players say that this class is squishy, I wouldn't say it's generally because of his toughness replenishment anymore. It's just because of his low toughness damage reduction. And he has some of it in some places. He's not doing too bad in terms of damage resistance, but you know, this talent, it does a lot of heavy lifting when you're in melee mode. Like, this is basically how you survive. If you don't have this talent, you're dying. So I have to give it S tier because it's just basically essential, right? These are 100% essential for their different archetypes. And you could even actually honestly take both if you're going sort of a hybridized thing, because then it allows you to like back off of a fucking like melee engagement that's getting out of control and then just shoot stuff and get your toughness back. Could be valuable too. Float like a butterfly. Oh my god, this is such an S tier talent. This is so good. I like go out of my way to get this a lot of times, even on range builds. Just a really, I mean, like, listen, people will use one of the two blessings on their weapons to get this effect, which is perfect blocks, which is not a thing, but perfect normally on the weapons, but perfect blocks and successful dodges give 20% crit strike chance for 3 seconds. So there is a very similar talent on weapons, on a lot of like crit based melee weapons, that is 20% crit strike chance for 6 seconds when you do a dodge, and that is considered one of the best blessings in the game. And so you can get another 20% crit chance for 3 seconds anytime you do any successful dodge. You probably won't be doing the perfect block, but any successful dodge is very, very easy to do in this class because you can slide dodge and all that nonsense. And this applies to both melee and ranged equally. Just super, super powerful. 20% crit is so much, guys. Like, that's more than Ogryn can like even get at his maximum potential. And this can push you up to that 80% crit rate. This is one of those classes where like getting 100% crit is not infeasible, and it's also not terrible to do either. So yeah, S tier for that one for sure. Then we've got Burst of Energy, Stun Immunity for 6 seconds, and restore 50% of toughness when toughness is broken, 10-second cooldown. I think that this is very, very valuable. Man, I'm split between A tier and S tier here. I know I'm giving a lot of A's and S's. We will get to bad stuff. Don't fret. But this is a really, really, really powerful node. It's also very well positioned. I mean, like, you are going to take one of these three, right? You can always take Burst of Energy, more or less. Sticky Hands is fine for certain builds. Calling for a timeout is fine for certain builds, but I feel like Burst of Energy is just like the guaranteed pick. And it's just that little extra safety blanket on a class like the Hive Scum, where you don't have a whole lot of like layers of security. This is very nice. So yeah, I am gonna give this the S, because yeah, if you don't have something like this, you are gonna be in trouble occasionally. This can give you that little tiny bit of security that you need to not get absolutely blown the fuck up. It saves your life. It's really, really good on range builds, especially with like you know, a lot of times on range builds, you start shooting and they start shooting, and you want to kill them before they can like stagger you or before they can knock you, you know, put you down. And a lot of times if you got like a Reaper or somebody who just like happens to get a couple lucky shots, they'll break your toughness and you can get stunned. You can get stunned the fuck up and not be able to move away. And this can be the difference between going down and not. So having that jump into effect, it's a 10-second cooldown too, which is very, very valuable. So yeah, quite nice. Over here, man, we got so many S tiers up here, honestly. 30% reload speed for 8 seconds on close ranged kill. Reload speed is so valuable on this class because we are not limited by our ammo consumption. By the way, this talent is called Speed Loader. We are not limited by ammo consumption with the Hive Scum, right? We want to be shooting as much as possible. If this class could have an ability that just says remove all reloads, every single like ranged Hive Scum would take that, because reloads are like the only downtime you have to doing damage. So by that nature, we want to remove as much reload as possible, so we take Speed Loader here. And it's an 8-second like duration, which means that you can get a kill with your gun and then like fend off some stuff with melee and then go back and still get that reload speed. Very, very potent. Guaranteed instant pickup anytime you are doing a range build, because reload is just that important. And 30% is a lot. Like, think about that compared to the, I think there's 10% in terms of like a trait, or what is it called? The traits on weapon, or sorry, perks on weapons. There's 10% available there. And then when you go to look at blessings, there's like Speed Loader, which you have to waste a blessing to get. It's up to 50%, but this is just 30% all the time. We take that. We take that. Okay, then we've got two more in this top little section down here. We have got Calling for a Timeout, minus 25% toughness damage taken. I don't know why this isn't... Is this different? This must be different than toughness damage reduction, right? So this is actually going to be better than toughness damage reduction. Minus 25% toughness damage taken while reloading and for 4 seconds afterwards. So yeah, this probably comes into calculate. I bet if I looked at the like back end in terms of the calculations, I bet this comes into effect after all other calculations are done, such as your toughness damage reduction, etc., etc. And then it multiplies the result by 0.75, and that's how much toughness damage you take. This is very powerful. It is very powerful, especially because, as we said before, you on many guns with this class spend a lot of time reloading. and you can easily spend your entire magazine within 4 seconds after that. So you're just getting a constant 25%. The thing I'll say here, though, is that when you are playing with Desperado, I really don't feel like you are taking that much damage with Desperado, because Desperado allows you to dodge most things. I just don't feel like Desperado is the time to take this. I feel like this is really good when you are going for a range build that is utilizing the Stim supply, because you're available to take damage most of the time, so then you want some more toughness damage reduction. But I'll definitely give this the solid A that I believe it deserves. This is a very quality perk here, or quality talent. Now we've got over here Sticky Hands, 40% weapon swap speed, additionally gain 10% recoil reduction and 30% spread reduction while firing from the hip or bracing. Is this S tier or A tier? I think this is A tier. I don't think this approaches S tier, but it is very useful. I definitely want this on every ranged archetype that I play, pretty much. There's a couple of weapons you can get away without it, but like almost every full auto weapon, like the infantry auto guns, like the Shredder auto pistol, like the Uzis, all those guns are hugely served by choosing this talent. It is incredibly powerful, and yeah, that spread and recoil reduction is so important for getting your shots on target with how full auto you're going. I don't think it's useless at all. I think this is valuable to me, at least just to me, because yeah, it enables you to like just stay so much more on target across the thing. But that's just me. It's just it makes your recoil that much tighter. Okay, now we got to go on to the second part of the tier list here, which starts at the blitzes. So we've got 3 blitzes to go over: the blackout grenades, the boom bringer, and the chem grenade. Man, I feel like bad we're not really using anything outside of A tier and S tier yet, but yeah, as you can imagine, we're going into that yet again here. The blackout grenades. How do the blackout grenades function, etc., etc.? Blackout grenades are the flashbang little stun grenade you chuck out. These things are a guaranteed stun on pretty much anything, right? They'll disrupt whatever animation, whatever action the character is currently doing, and so that makes them quite valuable for like knocking crushers out of their overheads, stopping reapers from doing their thing, whatever it might be. They can also be augmented with a talent we'll talk about later on called Pocket Toxin, which turns them into like little mini chem bombs, which is quite nice. And every 20 kills at close range generates 1 free grenade. This is always up. There's like five max grenades, or even probably 6, because most people are taking that node, right? So yeah, these grenades are free, and they are so good in so many builds. I would say that they are probably just like, they're just such a strong staple grenade. And if you want a grenade that you're able to use all game long, especially if you're going into a chem-focused build that wants to get as much cooldown back on your stim as possible, the blackout grenade is your best pick, because you can do that with Pocket Toxin and just have a little mini chem bomb every like couple of kills. And because they fixed the way that these kills are calculated, yeah, it's pretty damn good. I think this is honestly just a nice little S tier grenade. I think that honestly, you're probably not going to see too much different stuff here with these grenades. That's one of the things that the Hive Scum has going for it that is crazy good as compared to other classes. Is his blitzes are like top of the line. His blitzes are the best in the game, for sure. So yeah, this is an amazing grenade. Every other class would kill to have a grenade like this, and this class you can also do it while it's like basically like a one-handed action. So you can shoot your gun while you're throwing this. You can melee attack while you're doing this. It doesn't interrupt you at all. It's even faster than the Arbites grenade, which is very useful for being able to be thrown at your feet to like kind of get yourself out of the situation. But this, you get 5 or even 6 charges instead, and they're infinite. So yeah, we like that. Yeah, and it is close range damage, by the way. A good note there. It is every 20 kills at close range, not close ranged kills. So melee and ranged attackers can get these grenades back equally. So that's very, very easy to get 20 kills with this class at close range. They do have to be direct damage though. They cannot be like they cannot be the kills from, for instance, the grenade itself exploding and doing the toxin damage to the enemies around it. It has to be direct damage. So yeah, just spray a horde with a machine gun and you'll get one of these back almost for certain. It's very, very valuable. I find it much more valuable on range than I find it on melee, because with range, it's like, okay, I just want to disrupt the enemies as they're getting close to me so I can have some time to reload and then spray them. All right, we got to go into Boombringer. Boombringer recently got the biggest buff I think I've ever seen on anything in this game, maybe short of the Dueling Sword. It's just kind of absurd. I mean, I had a game yesterday with a Hive Scum who, he's probably watching the video right now, but like he did 900,000 damage with the Boombringer on over the course of the game. His only other ranged weapon was a needle pistol, so he wasn't doing any damage with that. That was all toxin damage. So he did almost 1,000,000 damage with just this fucking Blitz, because we were playing with rotten armor and he would just point it at a whole pack of like 6 crushers, 10 maulers, whatever, and just pull the trigger and it's just nukes. And you get 4 charges of it. It's just so insanely good. The fact that you get 4 charges and the fact that you can cross map with them like any distance. You just look, you're like, oh, here's a pack of grenades here. You'll run like 20 steps ahead and just like look for enemies in the next room and then just go reload and just shoot them off and fucking blow everything up before they even get close. This is in competition. I think this might be like the best Blitz in the game right now. It's really, really close in competition there. I thought it was going to be super hard for them to make this competitive with Chem Grenade, but I mean, it really is. It really is. Like 4 charges that do what this thing does is quite insane. And yeah, it just blows everything in a huge radius up. And if you take this with the bolt pistol, you increase that radius by another 25%. It's just an absolute nuke. So we love it. We love it. Let's go on and do Chem Grenade. So Chem Grenade is, I thought this was going to be the guaranteed hands down pick that everyone was going to choose in Havoc all the time. And for a little bit it was, because the Boombringer just wasn't all that good. The Chem Grenade, what it does is it lays down like this pool of acid, chem toxin, and it covers an area. The area lasts for 15 seconds, and enemies that stand in that area while it's active take up to 6 stacks of toxin. Now, 6 stacks of toxin is pretty damn deadly. That kills almost every enemy. Then like maulers and crushers, they die within like 3 or 4 seconds of standing in there. So like high health enemies, not too phased by this, but what it does is it just really just kind of shuts down one whole direction. It's like the RBD shock grenade in a way, but the best thing about these things is because they last, I think they last 20 seconds, not 15. These things, they just linger forever. So you're like, okay, we're about to have an engagement. Here's a pack of grenades right here. You'll just throw it in the hallway behind you and be like, all right, we got 20 seconds where we can have this fight. And whenever that horde shows up behind us, because when you get to like higher levels of gameplay, it's very predictable that like the hordes will come from in front of you and behind you all at the same time. And if you can just wipe out one whole direction, which is what this grenade does, you are making your life a whole lot easier. So they're just great. Drop them at your feet, fighting the ooze. They also give you an instant reset on your Stim because of a talent we'll talk about a little bit later down that everybody's freaking gonna tank. So yeah, another S tier grenade. Very, very potent. I like that all 3 of these grenades have their own uses, right? The Blackout is just the most useful all-round like run and gun, the sort of like, okay, I don't want the build to be focused around like having a grenade. I want to always have grenades. I want to leave those nades for, maybe I have another Hive Scum on my team who's going to use the rocket launcher. Let's leave the grenades for them and I can be self-sufficient. The Chem Grenade is like an area denial for all sorts of trash that lasts for an incredibly long time and just makes like fighting a extended engagement easier. And the Boombringer is like the fuck everything in that general direction button that just wins one engagement one time but 4 times, really. So yeah, and it's also anti-armor, which the other 2 grenades are definitely not. Because we have like basically no damage, only kills like the lightest of enemies, medium damage and lingering, and then the super high damage armor penetration of the rocket. So there's all 3 archetypes covered for grenades for you. And this is, again, as I said, the strongest thing about the class is, yeah, these grenades are just super, super crazy strong. Okay, we are made it past this first part here. Let's get on to this little node here. Gang tough, 10% range damage, 10% toughness damage reduction. I don't know. I mean, you have to take it, but I'll give it A tier. You know, 10% damage reduction or toughness damage reduction on this class, not bad, because like, you know, this class is toughness troubled, I'll say. He's not exactly like the beefiest boy in the world. So yeah, having a little bit of toughness damage reduction goes a long way, because he doesn't have a whole lot of other sources of it. And it's 10% range damage, so whatever. I mean, it's right there. You're gonna take it either way, so I'll just tell you my feelings on it, which is like, yeah, it's A tier. There you go. Okay, then we have some, now finally we're getting to the interesting ones, guys. Like finally we're gonna be able to talk about some ones that are like actually going to have controversial opinions, I suppose, surrounding them. So over here we've got regained posture, 10% stamina on successful dodge. So this is, I thought this was garbage, but I started to get a newfound appreciation for it. However, that is only when I am playing melee. And the way I see it is when you're coming down this way, you have like a choice of path, right? You don't want to expend more points than you need to up here. You can choose which defensive talent you want to take here. Do you want to be able to slide and gain melee attack immunity? Do you want your dodges to last longer? Or do you want to gain back stamina when you dodge? And for Rampage, the melee ability here, the big negative part of Rampage is that when Rampage ends, you lose all of your stamina, and you basically can't gain it back for the next 7 seconds. So that sucks, right? That puts you in a terrible position. It's very, very easy to die from there. So what this can do, though, is because this has no trigger cooldown and like enemies are constantly shooting at you. Say, for instance, like you have a gunner shooting at you, and you've got like 3 melee enemies who are taking a swing at you all at the same time, and you run out of stamina because Rampage drains all your stamina, and you dodge away. Well, you might dodge like 2 or 3 or even 4 attacks all at once, and immediately your stamina jump up a bunch. And that can be a lifesaver for Rampage, especially because of Swift Endurance down here, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But the fact that boosts your attack speed based on your stamina that you currently have, you'll get a huge nerf to your attack speed from this too, which can throw you off. This can regain it really quickly. The one downside of this, or not really, I guess it is a downside, but like the thing that thankfully they saw before they were, the thing that thankfully they saw before they were able to like allow this to happen in the game is that the veteran has a really similar talent where when they're running with when they dodge a ranged attack, they get stamina back, right? What's that veteran talent read as? I think this is the difference. Veteran. This one. So 30% stamina on avoiding range attacks by dodging, sprinting, or sliding. So what happened when they released this class is they also changed something about one particular weapon, and that weapon is our lovely, where is it, weapon, or what do we want? We want blessings. Stripped. Okay, so this, I don't know if they change this or if they make it only not function for this talent here, but stripped down for the veteran, when you're running with a gun with stripped down out, it actually triggers with that talent and it will give you stamina back. For this talent here, it does not do that, which sucks. I thought for certain that I could achieve infinite stamina when I was running with the needle pistol out, but the needle pistol specifically, like, well, the strip down on there doesn't give you this stamina back, because I think the difference here is you are not dodging these attacks. It just makes you immune to ranged attacks, versus what the veteran's talent says, which is you are avoiding those ranged attacks. So being immune counts as avoiding them, but it doesn't count as dodging them, I guess. So yeah, that sucks that you can't abuse it like that, but still really good. I'd say it's definitely valuable for the melee archetype. The one thing is, though, it's really only going to be valuable when the stamina gets all drained, right? Because you don't really use the stamina that much, and this class has stupid fast stamina regeneration otherwise. So I'm gonna give it B tier in the sense that, like, yeah, I mean, take it if you're going rampage and you find yourself getting drained on stamina, and you really want to get that back. Now, on the middle here, we have a talent that I'm going to rank this talent as if it actually freaking works, because currently I believe it is bugged, or it's like they are trying to address how it is bugged. Dodges are extended by 25% and time consider dodging by 50%. Currently, I believe that there is a bug here where this is working in inverse, and it's like causing players to have less iframes, and they don't like that. So this is why we have a current problem with the game where, like, you can just spam dodges and dodge literally everything forever, because they just made a quick fix to try and cover up for this issue. And Nimble ended up getting, like, yeah, like, Nimble is kind of irrelevant right now, but I think in the grand scheme of things, as time goes by, this is going to end up being the way that you will want to play for melee, because this is like just a very valuable ability to dodge and stay safe in melee combat as you get closer and closer to enemies. So yeah, I'll give this an A tier, I guess. It's really hard to judge right now because it's broken, so it's hard to tell how impactful that would be. I'll give it an A tier. We can return later and reassess. You can come back and comment down below in the comments of the video whenever this gets hot fixed, or whenever in like January or February, and say, oh, it's so good now, or it's so bad now, or whatever. Over here we have the talent that is called Slippery Customer. While sliding, gain melee attack immunity. This for ranged characters is really good, right? It just allows you to just exist right in the middle of all the enemies and not even worry about them. You'll see an enemy that's like kind of off to the distance, over yonder, and you've got like 3 little trash duders who are hanging out around you, and you can just ignore them because of this talent. I think this talent is S tier for sure. I would say it's definitely way more S tier for a range build than it is for a melee build, because when you're in melee, I don't find myself like combat sliding a whole lot because I'm just melee killing everything around me. But when you're ranged, you really don't want to be shooting at stuff that's like 6 inches away from you. You want to be shooting at, like, you know, stuff at a distance, so you can just like run away from stuff. You can just run away from stuff, slide away from stuff, and ignore it, and then turn around and shoot it. And this also makes you immune when you're carrying canisters. So if you're going into a map that has the little, like, vacuum capsules, when you're carrying vacuum capsules, you can just infinite chain slides with this, and just reset, and dodge all the enemy attacks coming at you, get all your stamina back, and be so fast with it. This alone makes this character like next to impossible to hit, especially if you're going Desperado, because with Desperado you can't take range attacks, and now you can't take melee attacks. So yeah, we've got all the bases covered with this talent here. Definitely S tier, but I'd say S tier for ranged mostly. Then we are going on to this next row, which is going to give us Jittery, 40% dodge recovery speed while stamina is above 75%. I don't know, C tier. I find myself not really needing this effect. The dodge recovery speed in this game is already pretty damn forgiving. It's like 1.5 seconds. Isn't it actually listed up here on the talent thing? It's not, but I swear I've seen it somewhere. Yeah, so like you only have like 1.5 seconds where you have to not spam dodge in order to get all of your dodges back. This is going to reduce it by 40%, but this is spending a point for something that you probably don't need. And additionally, this does not work if you dodge and then slide. So if you take Slippery Customer and you convert every dodge into a slide, you won't get this effect. When you come out of the slide, it'll still take a really long time to regenerate that dodge, which just sucks. So I would recommend not taking Jittery and instead taking Tis But a Scratch here. This is a super powerful perk. This is an S tier perk. This perk makes this class, I would say this perk is honestly might be a little bit too strong at like lower ranks, because in like Heresy and below, when you're facing range damage, the attackers don't really do enough damage with ranged to out DPS this. They end up, oh by the way, it says replenish 30% toughness over 3 seconds after taking ranged toughness damage. Losing all toughness cancels the effect. So if you think about this, right, like every point of additional toughness that you take, every percentage toughness that you take on your curios actually adds value to this. Every point of toughness damage reduction that you have adds value to this, and it makes harder and harder for the enemies to actually hurt the toughness. And you've got other methods you can regenerate it by too. So yeah, you end up having a situation where on lower difficulties in the game, the enemies actually can't break your toughness. You'll get shot by gunners and you can just kind of face tank them a little bit. It's not like the most broken thing in the world, and obviously once you reach those like Damnation and above, the enemies start dealing enough damage that you cannot just face tank range stuff. But it's definitely a little bit concerning. But the class needs defenses, right? And it's because the class needs defenses so much and this is so good, we definitely have to give Tis But a Scratch an S tier. Over here we got Untouchable. Untouchable, another talent here where I'm going to give this a C tier. I don't think it's completely unplayable. I could see situations where you'd want to use it, I suppose. But at the same time, we kind of need to just move on down, and there's other talents that we need to get. I can't really see any use in expending something here for something that may or may not work, right? That's sort of how I feel about like threat generation in this game. Like, oh, by the way, I gotta read the talent, sorry. This talent says, sprinting for 1 second grants minus 12.5% threat for 3 seconds, stacking 4 times. Successful dodges refreshes the duration. So this is actually active a lot. You know, you sprint into combat, and what it enables you to do is sprint into combat, and a lot of times the enemies will keep attacking your allies and not you. The problem with this is like, okay, what is threat? Like, we don't have, this isn't an MMO. This isn't, you're not playing Rogue and you've got like a little like add-on that tells you when you're starting to pull threat from the boss. You have no idea when your hypothetical threat is going to trigger. And yeah, as you said there, Mr. Self, unless it's minus 100% threat, it kind of sucks. It's putting you at a liability because, okay, you have minus 50% threat. The Reaper, the Ogryn Reaper, is targeting someone else, and you're running up, you're going to do a backstab on him. But who's to say that the hypothetical, ephemeral value for threat isn't like, you know, just barely tipped in his favor, and the second this falls off, he switches targets to you and murders you in like 2 seconds, right? It's just not clear enough what threat is actually going to do for you. On the Veteran, you have that talent where Infiltrate, when you come out, you have 90% reduced threat, and that basically means that, like, unless there's an enemy that can only see you, and they can see your other allies as well, they're just going to go for your allies instead. And that's what that's enabled to do. This is like a 50-50, like, coin flip, I think. It's like, okay, if this enemy was going to attack you, they'll flip the coin, and they might not. But I don't know. Personally, and I've said this a lot in the past, I prefer talents that cause enemies to act very predictably. I don't like suppression in this game unless I'm doing something like Flame Staff, but like I want to aim at head level. I want enemies to stand there staring at me and shooting back rather than dipping, ducking, diving all over the place. And this messes with enemies' AI in such a way that like I can't predict what this person's going to do. They might not even be targeting me. I've also heard reports that this is fucking with bursters, where like the burster is not, like they should be coming in to detonate and jump on you, but they are going for someone else because they don't see that you're there. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're right here. And then they jump on you all out of nowhere, and that sucks. So yeah, I just don't think it's good to take. Down here, we've got Gunslinger improved. When an ammo pickup is collected by you or allies in coherency, you each replenish ammo equal to 10% of that pickup. This is an augmented version of Gunslinger. C tier, I guess. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Gavin. The downside here is like, okay, at lower difficulties, maybe D? I've actually never taken this. Yeah, I'm gonna give this D, honestly. Okay. You think this is good? Do you think it's good? I've never taken, I just don't think this is valuable at all. I don't, I'll give it C. I'll give it C. B? Maybe it's B. I guess it could be good for other characters in Havoc. When you're playing regular games, it's somewhere between B and C for me. When you're playing regular games, I feel like there's enough ammo going around, especially because as the Hive Scum, you don't take ammo, right? Like, you just don't take ammo. So, yeah, I'm gonna put it back to C. So, yeah, you don't get any value out of this on, like, normal games, because everybody else can already take the ammo. You're Hive Scum. You have pickpockets, so you're not going to pick up ammo at all. And you have Desperado. So you get to leave all the ammo for everybody else, and they get the lion's share. Like a one freaking ammo pickup is like so much ammo on non-Havoc games. Then when you are in Havoc, the problem is that this talent is scaled based on the amount that you actually get, and not by the amount that like it's supposed to give you. So if when an ally picks up ammo, it gives everybody else in their area 10% of their ammo capacity, that would be awesome. But the ammo crate gives you 40% on Havoc 40, and so this will give you another 4%. And if everybody takes it, everybody like around like gathers around the ammo crate and they take it, you'll get an extra 16%. Like each person will get an extra 16% total. So it like almost doubles your value for an ammo crate in terms of pickups. But personally, what I find there is that there's at least one or even two characters on a given class that just don't care about ammo at all. Right? Like you got a Psyker or like an Ogren who just aren't using ammo and just could give less of a shit. I don't care about ammo when I'm playing this class because I literally have infinite ammo, so what's the fucking point? And getting to like corral everybody together and be like, guys, come here real quick. Hold on, take the ammo. Okay, yes, nice. Okay, I'm gonna take the ammo. Like, that's stupid, right? So I don't know. This is just kind of annoying to use, and it needs to be a higher value. I think it should just replenish a certain percentage of your base ammo or something. I don't know what they should do with this. I get what they're going for here, but this class literally is infinite ammo right now, so this is a nothing burger for you. Yeah. The Ruffian here is B tier, I guess. By the way, Ruffian gives 10% melee damage for you and allies in coherency. I find myself like when I'm going with melee for this, I don't really need more melee damage, right? 10% melee damage. If I'm going for melee on the Hive Scum, I have a talent, a rampage ability right here that gives me 75% melee damage. And then I've got other talents as well that stack up damage. We are good on damage, right? I feel like we needed something else here that I don't know what it would do. But yeah, this is like, I mean, it's fine for like melee stuff, I guess. But melee really isn't all that powerful right now in the terms of like scaling stuff. Just more melee damage is not the solution to making melee better. Think about like how much damage that the Zealot has on melee. He can stack like 125% melee damage. You think he gives a fuck about 10%? So yeah, this doesn't really add to anything. I think that when you come to this point, everybody is taking Tis But a Scratch, right? Everyone's taking this talent right here in the center because it's S tier, and then they are choosing one of three. And if you're going for melee, you aren't taking this one, and then you're probably not taking this one either, because I personally feel like 5% crit outcompetes 10% damage any day of the week. Yeah, rending aura would be quite good, honestly. Rending would be incredibly valuable. 5% rending aura, that would be a very nice. Like that would be something you'd actually like want to choose in the team, and that would give you a valuable decision to make. Maybe they could go back and change that. Guys, Fat Shark, you're listening right now. I know it. Change that. Change that. But yeah, like 10% melee damage. I'm gonna give 10% melee damage B. And then I'm gonna give just to guide you in the correct direction. I don't think it's that much higher, but I'll give the 5% crit or 5% crit chance over here the A, because I think this is just the best one. I think that almost every build that you've seen so far in my builds, almost every single one uses 5% crit. Crit is just good, right? Everybody wants crit. 5% crit is valuable when Psychers bring it. Think about how many other classes benefit so much from this. Yeah, I don't think it's like S tier, because it's just not like, it doesn't jump off the fucking page at me like, oh my god, take this. But, you know, A tier is very solid. It's, yeah, it's definitely the best pick for an aura on the class. So, that's where I stand there. And we've got two more on this top part here. Let me get my Rimworld queued up. Okay, so now we are at these two right here. Long-lasting and blessed stims. Okay, If 5% is insignificant, I guess, but like crits are like if you don't get a crit on certain things, especially like weapons in this class, like 5% crit for a recon lasgun veteran is 5% ammo and 5% more times that you actually like apply a burn stack, right? You know, people put 5% crit on their flame staff for Psyker. You know, and you think about it, like what's more valuable? Flak armor damage, carapace armor damage, the unyielding armor damage, or 5% crit? And they take 5% crit every single time, because like if you don't crit as flame staff psyker, you can literally die. So you have to get that crit, and this can help level that out. So I feel like crits are like, and also remember that crits have innate rending. So like crits, or their damage is calculated. They don't actually have innate rending, but their damage is calculated in a different way. So yeah, I think the crits are definitely very valuable. Okay, so long lasting here, 5-second stim duration. I think this is C tier. Man, yeah, I actually feel very negatively about both of these talents here. Maybe I feel a little better about long lasting. To me, it doesn't improve your uptime or your stim. The problem is it also increases the downtime for your stim. And so this has a negative synergy, which it impacts the best keystone that everyone wants to use. This fucks over using that keystone, and that is a really, really big negative. So yes, you'll get 5% more, but like, look. Okay, say you have a stim that has a 45-second duration, right? And every stim, or sorry, a 45-second cooldown, every stim has a base 15-second duration. So you end up with a 60-second stim, like from the time that you press the stim to when you can get it back, because the cooldown doesn't start until the stim ends. So if you add 5 seconds to the duration, and by the way, this would be, we would do 15 divided by 60, our total cooldown, and we'd get a 25% uptime on our stim. If you did added 5 seconds to that duration, you would just do 20 divided by 65, because now your cooldown and your delay is longer. And so you're only getting 5%, 5.7% more uptime on this. which sucks. And the really negative part the really negative part here is that when you are in your stim, when you have manually used a stim, you cannot regain your stim cooldown. So for sample collector, as you're saying there, cleanup guy, yes, you can get rid of the cooldown, but you cannot get rid of any of your cooldown until the stim has ended. So, like, you have to wait 20 seconds in order to get the cooldown off. So you've got a 20-second debuff on this talent where you stim yourself, you have 20 seconds of good effect, but you are also guaranteed not regaining any of your stim cooldown for a time after that. And this also fundamentally breaks the chemical dependency synergy here. So think about this, like, if you're just like running around and you don't have any enemies to fight, right? If you start the game, moment one, you're running into the level. With chemical dependency, with only one side allocated in your stims, you have exactly a 59 or 60 second cooldown. So you can guaranteed do this, and then you can do it again. So you just stim as soon as you spawn into the map, and you can start getting this stacked up. But if you take this, you can't keep it up, because it'll be 5 seconds after that. So this, by taking long lasting, you are necessitating yourself to either not take maxed out chems, which is a very, very nice talent, or you are going to have to guarantee that you get a certain amount of kills in order to get those percentages off, and you have to get them within a 45-second window. So yeah, it makes it like way harder to keep that up, and you will have times where you just don't get those stacks at the appropriate time, and you lose your stacks of chemical dependency. I just think it's just annoying to play around. I think that this would be amazing if you could cool down the stim. If they just increased every stim's cooldown by 15 seconds and allowed you to cool them down while the stim is active, it would be a world difference. But that's not the way it works. Over here we got Blessed Stims. While stimmed, kills clear of 1% corruption, up to 50% per stim. This can be pretty good, I guess. I just feel like corruption for 90% of players who are not playing on Havoc is a absolute non-issue. There's almost nothing in the game that does any corruption outside of Havoc. When you are playing Havoc, you usually bring somebody if it's a corruption-based effect in the map, and look where it's at, right? It's right over this one right here. If I was going Rampage or Desperado, which I generally don't get Desperado, but like if I was going Rampage, I would not waste my points in this. And if I was going Stim Supply already does this for you guys. It clears 40 corruption, and it makes you immune to it. So you're gonna have this often enough that you won't need this effect here. And so yeah, I think this is also probably C tier. Just to avoid these, I would say. I would just avoid those. And that means that this 25 toughness node here is S tier. Fuck yeah. We like 25 toughness. I mean, this class gets a lot out of every bit of defense. So you have to take this, right? No one is going to take this and then this and then this and skip over taking 25 flat fucking toughness. So yeah, please take the toughness. This is a huge increase to your damage resistance in general. So take that and skip all this shit. Wow, okay, now we are on to the second page, guys. Welcome to the second page. Dun dun dun. Holy shit. It's scary over here. This is a lot to go. Damn. Why did I do this? All right, let's jump in here. We are going to start on the left with Desperado. Desperado here swaps to and reloads your ranged weapon, entering Enhanced Desperado for 10 seconds. For the duration, you become impossible to hit by ranged attacks, and sprinting costs no stamina, as well as gaining 20% sprint speed while the ability is active. Excuse me. Reloading your weapon does not reduce your ammo reserve. Additionally, enemies with close range become highlighted. Killing highlighted enemies extends the range, or with your ranged weapon, extends the duration by 1 second. After 20 seconds, the extending becomes diminished. Base cooldown 45 seconds. Okay, so this ability needs some love, in my opinion. I Okay, so let's first of all talk about like how the cooldown thing works with this, right? So this ability cannot cool down while it is active. So that cooldown, again, starts after the effect ends. So you've got 45 seconds you're waiting once you're done doing your Desperado thing, which is quite a downside because Desperado is like, you know, your safe time to like do stuff, get stuff done. The really negative part, or like the part about Desperado that really bothers me, is the duration is very short, or it can be very short. When you kill highlighted enemies, you get up to 20 seconds of additional duration. After those 20 seconds, the extension goes down to, I think it's 0.2 seconds or something like that. Like it's almost no time at all. So you're basically done, right? You basically get a 30-second tops ability that really doesn't give you a whole lot. When you think about it in the grand scheme of things, what does this ability give you? It doesn't give you extra damage unless you take this node over here, which only gives you 15% extra damage. And it makes you immune to ranged attacks, but this class is so evasive already. When you are dodging, or when you're sliding, you gain melee attack immunity. When you're sliding, you have range attack immunity. So if you can run around and slide underneath when gunners are shooting at you, you could just be shooting and doing all this yourself and not have to really worry about it. I feel like for lower skill players, this could be really, really good because you could just stand there and like, you know, get shot at and shoot back and not have to worry about it. But once you outskill this ability and you don't, like, you're not scared of gunners because you literally always have the ammo to shoot them back and kill them burst, then this doesn't have any use anymore because you already have infinite ammo. And it doesn't make you reload any faster, and it highlights enemies. And what does that do for you? Like, it just extends the duration. So yeah, you've got an ability here, and the real thing is like this is an opportunity cost for you. Because if you're going for a range build, you could either choose this one here, which really its only tangible effect is making you immune to range attacks for maybe like 30% of the time. Or you could choose the crazy fucking absurdity that is Stim supply currently, and I think the decision is pretty obvious. So I'm going to give Desperado, as it currently stands, like a C tier at best. I just think it's a worse version of something else. You can take it if you want. It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst ability in the game or anything. It's not Infiltrate. But yeah, it's just, like, it doesn't give you any additional damage. I think you probably are right to say that it's a worse version of Executioner's Stance, because at least Executioner's Stance highlights enemies at any range, and it gives you bonus damage against them. So you can just do more damage in general if you want to. This doesn't make you do any more damage. Like, it doesn't even make you reload faster. So you end up having the exact same DPS output as you would not having this ability active, except if you take this node over here. This node over here is 15% damage and 15% rending. B tier, whatever, it's fine. It's like, that's almost no additional damage though. I feel like this should be at least doubled, and that would give some actual effect to using this. And then down here, this node right here is just garbage. I don't understand. Maybe I tested this a lot. What is this? Focus or Resolve. Killing highlighted enemies restores 0.5 seconds ability cooldown. Elites and specialists instead will restore 1 second, 5 second max cooldown restore. So here's the problem with this. This ability, or this augment, what do they call this? This ability modifier here remained unchanged from the playtest that I was part of, where this ability in Desperado used to have a 30-second cooldown. So this could effectively cut 5 seconds off of, or 1/6 of your cooldown off. Now, because it is a 45-second base cooldown, that's 1/9 of your fucking ability cooldown, which is like terrible. So yeah, and like this ability isn't all that impactful. A 5-second difference doesn't make a big difference for this ability, and it's just a waste of a point. I'm just gonna give that a D tier and just say avoid it. Just don't do it. You already probably shouldn't be taking this if you're like above a certain skill threshold, and then you definitely shouldn't be taking this because at 5 seconds is not going to make any difference at all. Okay, on to Rampage. Okay, Rampage, let's go ahead and read Rampage. Replenish all toughness and enter Rampage. Rampage for 10 seconds. For the duration, gain 50% melee power, 20% melee attack speed, and 25% damage reduction, stun and suppression immunity. melee strikes extend the duration by 0.3 seconds. After 20 seconds, the extending becomes diminished. Upon exiting Rampage, lose all stamina and become exhausted for 7 seconds, gaining 25% damage taken increase and minus 75% stamina regeneration speed for the duration, with a base cooldown of 30 seconds. So off the bat, immediately, this is a much better ability than we have with Enhanced Desperado over here. This actually provides you tangible benefits. You can see in front of you with your very eyes, right? You can look at that and say, whoa, look at all that fucking shit I'm getting. So if you, want to do the math really quickly, if you're assuming that we're doing 100 damage per second and we activate Rampage, well, we would multiply our melee power by that. We would end up at 150 DPS, and then we would add in the 20% melee attack speed, which would be calculated separately because it's multiplying the number of attacks we can do. So this is basically giving you an 80% increase in DPS if you're just attacking as fast as possible, plus all the damage reduction stuff it gives you. Yes, it does have this negative when you come out of it. However, this ability, as compared to Enhanced Desperado over here, is so much easier to keep up for long durations, because 0.3 seconds on melee strike is way easier to do than it is to kill an enemy with a ranged weapon. Because, like, think about like this ability and you run into a bunch of crushers, right? You can't keep it up versus crushers. Versus this ability where you can at least get 0.3 seconds of it every time you hit them, but probably even more than that if you take this down here. So this ability does have a very strong downside. The fact that when it runs out, it puts you into potentially a life-ending situation. But it's still A tier. Like, this is still an extremely strong melee talent. It is not Scryer's Gaze, right? Scryer's Gaze is just the S tier version of this, but it's really good. Like, it gives you a lot of shit, and it can enable you to pop off, and it can really boost your damage in combination down here with Hyper Violence. When you start to stack that damage, it stacks on itself, and this boosts your baseline damage so much, it really just enables some very impressive damages otherwise. So that's A tier. But let's talk about the modifiers down here. On the left here, we have Channeled Aggression. Heavy attacks gain 25% rending while the duration of Rampage remains above 50%. This is D tier. Do not take this. There's no reason to take this. Okay, cool. 25% rending literally just means that when you hit a armored part of an enemy, then that enemy will take 25% of the damage that you would have done before the armor reduction came into play as true damage. However, this only applies when you have, firstly, above 50% remaining duration on your Rampage. So is your Rampage about to run out? Well, nope. Good luck. You're not going to do any fucking damage. And you have to do a heavy attack in order to do it. So, like, this has, like, 4 different qualifiers in order to get it to work. It only works on pretty much the only enemy you're going to give a shit about doing this to is the Crusher, right? This is like an anti-Crusher talent. 25% rending isn't even that impressive. And, yeah, and you have to be above 50% rending and you have to do a heavy attack. Just don't take this. No reason to take this. Yeah, it's like you could just kill something else and use hyperviolence to cascade and murder this, right? Yeah, like as you say there, it's just blah. Okay, then we have, however, Boiling Blood. Melee strikes against elites and monstrosities extend the duration of Rampage by 1 second. Additionally, the time before extending becomes diminished is now 30 seconds. S tier. Always take this. If you were taking Rampage, you literally always take this, okay? There's really no two ways about it. This, instead of giving you 0.3 seconds per hit, extends it a full fat second against monsters, elites, all those things, including captains with their shields, right? So normally what would happen is you could actually run out of duration when you're against these guys. Yeah, this extends it crazy. And it also makes the baseline before that you start to run out of your juice 40 seconds. So yeah, you can keep this up way longer as a result, which is just amazing for the general uptime of the ability. I also have not seen any specific like testing or notation on how this works, but I have this suspicion that when this ability, because it says like, okay, once you pass that 20 seconds, it becomes diminished, right? I think it goes down to like 0.1 seconds, but I think that when you are hitting melees against elites and monstrosities, I think that it doesn't reduce that 1 seconds to 0.1 seconds. I think you get extra off of hitting those enemies even when you are over your normal extension time, because there's sometimes where I'm like, damn, I've been in Rampage forever. I'll find a couple of elites and I'll get a bunch more time. And I'm like, nice. So yeah, Boiling Blood is just super essential. You have to take this with this ability. Forge's Bellow here, when Rampage is activated, unleash a powerful shout that staggers enemies and increases the time between their attacks by 50% for 5 seconds. I think that this is at least A tier. The reason I'm giving this A tier, not S tier, is because it is not 100% essential, but it is really, really good. The reason this is so good is because this class does not have a whole lot of stagger and potential in general. Something that makes Ogryns and Arbites really strong on offense with melee attacks is when they run in, their first attack staggers the enemy such that they cannot retaliate, right? This class does not get that benefit. You run in and you hit an enemy, and they are probably going to swing and attack you back if you didn't kill them in the first hit. So this can actually stop that from happening, because if you shout, you get at least like a couple of seconds in which you can start to stack your damage and murder everything. And the other really cool thing about this is this is the highest tier of stagger in the game. This is a big enough stagger effect that it can stagger back bosses, it can stagger back captains when their shields are broken, and it also activates again when your rampage ends. So a lot of times the really negative thing that'll happen to you if you're in rampage is like a mutant or a chaos spawn or a dog will get you when you're in rampage. And now not only are you going to lose your rampage, but you're going to get fucked while you're pinned. This now, because your rampage will run out while you're grabbed, will activate again and it'll knock you free. And I've actually been saved by this a number of times where I'm like grabbed by a chaos spawn or something and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm fucked, aren't I? And then boop, it knocks me out of it because my rampage ends and I'm like, nice, thanks. Like, yeah, quite nice. I don't think that this ability needs to have that downside that it does, but this as a nice ending effect there is quite good. So I'll give that an A tier. Pick it up if you can, if you feel like you need the effect. And then over here, we have this, I forget what this is called, but it's S tier. Pulverizing Strikes, 50% cleave while Rampage is active. Additionally gain 2.5% melee power for each second spent with the ability active up to 10 times. So that's 25% melee power once you're at that 10-second mark. This is a really good. I mean, this just effectively gives you half again as much melee power. So we're instead of 50% melee power, we're at 75%. If we go back to our calculation from before, instead of having 100 base damage, we would instead have 175 because we're going to a 1.75x multiplier, and then we are going to multiply that by the 1.2 for the attack speed. So we're ending up at a 2.1x of our damage once we let this melee power stack up. So this gives you 30% extra DPS off that 25% melee power, which is very nice. And it is going to give you cleave. And cleave, hitting a certain threshold for cleave, like stacking infinite cleave, such as you'll find on weapons like the Katachan, what are they called? The Devil's Claw swords. They have like stacking like 200% cleave. You don't need that much cleave, right? But 50% cleave pushes a lot of weapons over that breakpoint where they can start to hit 2 or 3 enemies with a swing, and that's good enough usually. So like 50% cleave is very, very valuable here and allows you just to dish that damage out to more targets. And remember that cleave is also affected by things like hyperviolence. So you can cleave one enemy and then cleave into the next, and yeah, you get lots of value because you can call multiple targets at the same time. Okay, so yeah, let's give that the S tier, and we'll move on to Stim Supply. Stim Supply. Okay. Stim Supply. Deploy a refitted metapack on the ground, bolstering you and your allies for 20 seconds. Operatives breathing the pack's gas heal up to 40 corruption damage over time and become immune to it. Additionally, if you have a Stim equipped, Stim Supply will copy its contents and disperse them into the air, granting its effects to nearby allies. Base cooldown 60 seconds. This ability, based on the letters that it starts with, alone is an S tier ability. This ability is nuts right now. This ability is so strong. It is like the way to play Hive Scum and like consistently contribute value to your team. Even if you choose literally no stim, it's still incredibly impactful because the corruption immunity on high levels of gameplay is very, very good. Like, being able to be immune to corruption for 15 seconds, which we'll talk about why you get immunity for 15 seconds in a second, but yeah, being able to be immune to corruption, only the best, is really fucking good because you can just walk in a Burgle's snail trail, you can just breathe the pox gas, you can just do whatever, and you're like, hell yeah, I don't have to worry about this shit. Really good. So we like this, and the stims that this can supply are very, very effective. Being able to supply this to the whole team is kind of nuts, honestly. You know, a red stim for a psyker with a flame staff is already crazy. And red stims in the base game are like 30% damage and 20% rending, I want to say. And this gives you 20% damage and 15% rending. So, like, yeah, it's almost that good, and it's always off cooldown too, which is really freaking nuts. So yeah, Stim supply is just so good right now. And why is it so good? Well, a lot of it comes down to these nodes out here. Let's start with practice deployment. So practice deployment, once a stim becomes available to use, collected or otherwise, stim supply instantly becomes ready for deployment. So this one, I cannot decide if this is the way that this is supposed to work, or if this is like bugged or what it is, but this seems so freaking good. I genuinely can't even describe how good practice deployment is. So in practice, what this does currently is when your stim comes off of cooldown, this becomes available. So what'll happen is you've got your stim supply ready, right? And what you can do is you can use your personal stim on yourself and get the effects, and then you can drop your stim supply, and for whatever reason, it'll give you the effects again, and it'll give it to everybody else too. So you get to double dip on the stim, everybody else gets the single dose of the stim. Then the next time it comes around, you get like this desync thing that happens where the stim supply comes up first, right? So your stim supply comes up, you toss it down on the ground, everybody gets the buff, then your personal stim comes up, so then you can inject yourself, and because your personal stim just came up, then practice deployment triggers, and you can drop the stim supply again. So you get a triple buff, and everyone else gets a double buff. And it's just stupid. I don't think it's supposed to work like that, but like you can just stack these buffs like crazy and just do insane range damage right now. I don't range is probably the definite way to play with this, but I don't understand if it's supposed to work that way or what. The way that it was working prior to like the last patch was when your personal stim was on cooldown, this didn't actually have any effect. Like this would only give you the corruption cleansing. It wouldn't give the extra boost to these like the stims to everybody else. But I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth, and this is the way that it currently works. So yeah, that is what it is. And because again, your stim at like in most configurations is a very, very short cooldown. It's basically like having two cooldown timers at once, right? You just have a second cooldown timer that's running in the background that can also trigger your stim supply. That's really good. Okay, over here we got Booby Trap. Once its duration, oh by the way, S tier. Okay, Booby Trap. Once its duration ends, stim supply explodes, infecting nearby enemies with 7 stacks of chem toxin. Okay, so this is pretty good. I mean, this is a self-sustaining cycle here. It is not essential, and a lot of times I find that most things near the stim supply are just kind of dead by the time that it activates. It's like if you were going out of your way to get enemies to stand in it just for the purpose of resetting your cooldown on your stim because of a talent down here, sample collector, we'll talk about in a little bit. But if you're going out of your way to make that happen, this can be pretty valuable. The problem is it at minimum, it has a 5-second warm-up time, and the radius is very small. So it's kind of hard to get enemies to get hit by this. I kind of wish it had an outer radius where like everybody in the middle radius took 7 stacks and like 3 stacks the people around it or something. Something like that would be nice. As it currently stands, I think it's B tier here because like I could see using it, but only with builds that are really, really looking for that synergy where they want to be applying toxin to lots and lots of enemies. I think B is fair. I don't want to say it's C. It's not just for niche builds. It's okay, but it's not like you're not going to get a huge amount of value out of it. Then we've got up here. This is like, okay, when you're running Stim Supply, you basically have to run these two nodes. So this is going to be another S tier, just to spoil it. Fast acting stims. The duration of Stim Supply is shortened to 5 seconds, but its effects linger after leaving its area for 15 seconds. So they put this operative word here, but its effects linger. The but implies that it's a negative, but shortening the duration of this is actually a positive for this talent here, Booby Trap. And remember that this ability, Stim Supply, only lasts for 20 seconds normally. And with the 20-second duration, you have to stand in it the whole time. This, you can stand in it for that 5 seconds while it's active, and then you get 15 seconds. You get 15 seconds afterwards of active juice, and you can go anywhere. So you still get the full 20 seconds out of it. It's just now you're freed to go anywhere in the environment that you want with that last 15 seconds, which is incredibly, incredibly valuable because this radius on the Stim Supply, as we previously mentioned, is super small. It's a very, very tiny radius. And so like everybody crowding around in this stupid thing for 20 seconds would be ridiculous. This frees you up to go anywhere. So you have to take this. You literally have to. So yeah, really, really strong. And it makes this, it just makes these two make this ability. And this ability is S tier in general. So yeah. Okay, guys, we are making our way down. We're almost done. We're probably past the halfway point, I would say. Okay, let's start. Where do we want to start? Do we do chemical dependency last or first? What order? Left, of course. Okay, yeah, we left to right. Okay, we're not Japanese here. This is not a manga, as they say. Okay. Over here, Ammo Jack, 15% clip size, rounded up. You know, this is quite valuable. I will say that 15% clip size rounded up, it's good on, like, Revolver, I guess. It's not, you're not really that interested in the rounding up thing. There's other classes in the game where, like, oh my god, the rounded up effect, it's going to, like, make this certain weapon hit this certain breakpoint for the number of shots that it has in it, and it's like, oh yeah, poggers. Do people still say that? I don't know. But the real valuable thing here is that 15% clip size is 15% more bullets that you can continue to shoot while not reloading, right? So think about it like this. For a lot of very powerful weapons, range weapons, they have talents like Blaze Away, or they get more value as you fire them, like Shredder Auto Pistol does. And that weapon wants you to shoot it for longer. So you have 15% more clip size spread across the whole thing, which effectively means that you get 7.5% more time or more bullets when you are when you're fully stacked on that talent, because you shoot 50% of your clip and then you're fully stacked. So you get half of this effect towards that fully stacked part, and just shooting more without having to reload is good in general. So I think this is a nice solid, let's just give it a solid A tier. I think that every ranged focus build should take this. So yeah, I stand firmly behind that. Let's go on to Unload. Reloading your ranged weapon grants 2% range damage for 7 seconds. Each 10% of magazine spent during the duration grants 2% additional range damage. This talent is all sorts of fucky. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna give this the B tier, and the reasoning being this is only operative with like certain weapons. There are weapons like the infantry autogun and the Shredder auto pistol where, like, yes, you'll want to hold down the trigger and dump the magazine, and you can get rid of the whole magazine in 10 seconds. But there are other weapons where, like the double-barreled shotgun, like, by the way that it's written, this ostensibly for like the shotgun should give you 20% range damage because you dump the 100% of the magazine in like 0 seconds, but it doesn't. And this also doesn't really work with like braced autogun or anything that fires kind of slowly. It's okay, but like, yeah, it's just not It's not all that much. And remember that it is only giving you a stacking percentage damage. So it's going to give you 2% rage damage, and then over the next 10% spent. So on average, for the if you can spend the whole magazine within the next 7 seconds, you are going to get on average about 10% range damage. So it's B tier. Okay, this is Swift Endurance. 2% increased melee attack speed for each current stamina, and this is S tier. This is the best attack speed, melee attack speed node in the entire game. Every other class is so jealous of this. This node scales. It scales with your active stamina, and because stamina is a currency that you really only expend to push and block in this game, it just is crazy, because not only does your class have a baseline stamina of 3, which automatically gives you a 6% melee attack speed boost just by being the class and picking this node, every weapon that you equip has a stamina value associated with it. So the lightest of weapons in the game, like the daggers, get 1 additional stamina, which means that you are getting another 2% here. But heavier weapons like the crowbar and the bone saw, and what else? Yeah, like other like heavier weapons, they get 4 additional stamina, which is 8% attack speed just for carrying that weapon, just for having that be your weapon of choice. So this boosts those weapons just by playing the class and using the bone saw. You get 14% melee attack speed, which is a lot. Like every other class, you see the 10% melee attack speed and you're like, S tier, fuck yes. This is 14% just for like picking it. And then if you equip a single +3 stamina curio, not only do you get a bunch of additional stamina to work with, which is really good on this class in general for sprinting and sliding and all that stuff. Like stamina is a good stat to have. It gives you 6% attack speed at the same time. So you're like double dipping on the value of taking stamina on the class. And of course, you could just do triple +3 stamina curios, put stamina on your weapon, end up at 34% attack speed with the crowbar and just go boop, 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 boop. Yeah, pretty funny. Yeah, it is really, really, really good. Yeah, like this is just so good, and I love the design of this talent too. Like, I know this is not what the rankings is, but I'm supposed to be ranking power, but I love the way this talent is designed. This is such a cool talent because it enables you to be like, okay, do I want to like have defensive stats, or I can trade out all of my curios and I can make them all give me attack speed. Like I can actually build offensive curios instead of defensive ones, which is something that I actually really want for the game. I want there to be offensive curios as well, or like other like interesting curios, because curios are boring as fuck. Okay, moving on here to Sweet Spot, 25% weak spot damage. Very powerful. Very powerful. However, there are certain weapons that do not do very well with this. If you are going a melee build, you should take this. Guaranteed, right? Every single melee build should take this. I believe. I can't think of a single melee weapon that doesn't. This isn't S tier for. For range builds, though, there are a good number of weapons that don't do very good weak spot damage. Notably also for this class, a lot of the range weapons are pretty spray. Like they're very hard to actually hit the weak spot with, because they just like kind of like spread out. And so it's way better to aim at center mass on these targets. So yeah, like for melee, this is insane. Obviously, weak spots are really, really powerful weak spot hits. But yeah, for the for ranged attacks, I would say not so valuable. I'm trying to think of any weapons that I would really take it on. Even for like Shredder, which is probably the most active or most accurate full auto weapon. The Shredder doesn't have great headshot ratios, and this is again going to multiply those ratios. So like this is not going to be that valuable as opposed to like on some of the weapons like the dagger or whatever. Crowbar actually has really good ratios, so this is valuable on Crowbar. Okay, so yeah. Also remember that the weak spot damage, any weak spot damage for melee is going to be incredibly valuable because of hyper violence. The heavier you can hit those targets in one hit, if you can overkill this target for a bajillion fucking damage with a sweet spot weak spot hit, you'll get this massive fucking stack for hyperviolence, and you'll carry that over and do a bajillion damage on your next attack. So yeah, I'll say that I'm gonna give this the A tier, or sorry, I'm gonna give it the A tier. Okay, I'm gonna give it A tier because I'm split. For most range builds, I am not taking this. Yeah, the stubs are good, but I don't think the stubs are a very good weapon. Most range builds, I'm not taking this because most range guns in this class do not really want to aim head level. And then for melee, it's an S tier. So just keep that in mind. If you're going melee, yes, S. For range, more like the A. Okay, I think that's fine. Then we have over here hypercritical. Hypercritical, guys. Hypercritical. Critical strikes instantly kill human-sized enemies if their current health is less than 2 times the amount of damage of the critical strike. Simply put, when you hit an enemy and you crit them, if that hit takes them to at least half of their remaining HP and their human size, they are instantly killed. This is S tier. This is a very, very powerful node. It just eliminates so many enemies. It just stops their bullshit dead in its tracks. The downside of this ability is because it's a cull effect. It's very much like the talent Haymaker that's on daggers that instantly kills enemies up to 20% of the time when you chain heavies. It takes the kill from you, and so you lose the effect of, like, you know, stacking on kill effects like hyperviolence, like the stacking effects for your blackout grenades. Like, you lose all those stacks, so it does kind of steal from you a little bit. But it's so good just to be able to, like, okay, yeah, there's a mauler, boop, light attack, you're instantly dead, right? Like, or a rager or something like that. The cleanup effect of this, especially for, like, players who, I know a lot of players that watch me are not, like, the absolute top of the line players. If you're, like, a player who's pushing Damnation and starting to push into Havoc, this talent's gonna be so good. Because he just simplifies so many melee combats by instantly gutting like 3 enemies. You'll just like swing at a group of enemies and you'll just accidentally kill about half of them. And you're like, oh, nice. Like, that just made it so much easier. Yeah, so you gotta give it the S there. I think that you are probably right here, Zeno. We gotta go on to Pickpocket. Killing an elite or special enemy while ammo reserve is below 20% will fill it back up to 20%. A talent so good that it makes me wonder if it's just like, is it intended to be this good? And I can't fundamentally imagine the class not having this, because if it didn't, the class would be kind of dead in the water from an ammo supply sort of perspective. Like, I literally do not think that you could sustain having any ammo at all with how much this class shoots. Even with Desperado, you would still run out of ammo. This is one of the single best abilities in the entire game. I gotta give it the triple S here. We don't give it the double S for obvious reasons. And the triple S, yeah, this is a game-defining ability. This literally takes one whole element of the game and says, I don't care about ammo economy anymore. Like, I don't play about ammo pickups. What is that? Like, that just doesn't exist for me. I don't have to care about that whole thing where guns have a certain ammo capacity. To note, like, the to note, by the way, like, people have commented, like, wait, should I be, like, dumping the ammo stat on my weapons because, like, you have infinite ammo? No, because remember, the ammo stats also give you a bigger magazine on your weapon, which is good, because, you know, we want bigger magazine. But yeah, infinite ammo, who would have thought? Literally infinite ammo on a class that does some pretty considerable range damage is pretty fucking good. Okay. Alright, we're down here. What is this talent? Moving target. +1 effective dodges while wielding your range weapons. I think this is like just the prototypical fucking B tier talent. Yeah, just B tier. +1 dodges with range weapon. Not bad, right? It's not terrible. It's like, you know, you do want dodges when you're in range, because with like ranged, you're gonna need to be dodging around those melee enemies that are near you, and you'll use Slippery Customer with this. So Slippery Customer, every time you dodge and then slide, it takes an additional dodge count. That's the thing a lot of people don't know. Is like, okay, when you dodge, you take 1 dodge count, and you have 3 with most ranged weapons. Then if you slide, you'll take another 1. So you'll actually end up using 2, and then that means that like you will be completely gassed after 1 regular dodge and a dodge slide, so you can't dodge again. Now you could do a dodge slide, a regular dodge, and then another dodge slide, and you'll get all the full duration on those. It's okay. Like, it's okay. I don't think I would take it really at all unless I was hell-bent on going for Vulture's Mark and I really wasn't planning on hitting anything with my melee weapon. But that's sort of how I feel about it. B tier. Over here, ramping backstabs. Backstabs grant 10% melee strength, stacks 5 times. Regular melee hits will instead remove all stacks. I kind of feel a similar way about this talent. First of all, it's just like, it's kind of hard to pull off. It's good on bosses. That's what I'll give it. It's good on bosses, like captains and shit. Actually, no, it's not good. It's not useful enough. It's not useful enough for that. It's C tier. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. It's not D tier, because it is a good buff. It is a good buff, but it's pretty much only useful on bosses. You'll find yourself like, shit, if you can get a good position on a captain or a twin or a boss when someone else is like, you know, messing with them, you can ramping backstab that fucking damage to the moon and tear them up in like a couple of seconds with like daggers or something, because you can attack so fast, right? You can stack this up really quickly. The problem is that if you miss any attacks, because by the way, ramping backstabs grant 10% melee strength, stacks 5 times. Regular melee hits will instead remove all stacks. So yeah, hitting them not in a backstab, you lose every single stack. I really wish that this was a time-based thing, like you get 5 seconds after a backstab where you get ramping damage. That would be like S tier, right? Because then you could like get around behind enemies and like get extra boost for flanking them really quickly. Like you would end up playing like you did with Zealot when Core Zealot was things like flipping around behind an enemy really quickly, getting a backstab just to keep those cooldowns rolling. Yeah, that would be a really cool way to play with the class. Currently, as it stands though, because you have to do subsequent hits, it runs into the same problem that the talent, it's not Head Taker. Decimator? Is it called Decimator? There's a talent on, or the blessing on axes that's like, okay, it gives you a big buff, like 8% damage every time, or 10% even, every time you do a chained hit. But doing chained hits is hard, right? Because like, if you miss a hit, or the enemy dies, you lose the entire buff. Yeah, I guess it is literally Decimator at 10%, right? Yeah, so like, that's the problem, is you have to do them sequentially, and if for some reason, like, you know, you're backstabbing a captain, as I just said, captains are good targets to backstab, but like, fucking sword captains, man, you're backstabbing him, and then he just turns around and starts doing that, like, Omni Slash thing in your direction, you're like, oh, fuck, like, okay, yeah, there it goes. First of all, I lost my buff, second of all, now I'm dead. So yeah, rampant backstab is a little bit hard to pull off. I just don't think it's worth it. There's other stuff to spend the points on. Vulture's Mark, potentially the most B tier Keystone I could imagine. Let's go for that. And this is about as good as we're going to get for these Keystones here, guys. Vulture's Mark. Killing a special or elite enemy with a ranged weapon grants you a stack of Vulture's Mark for 8 seconds, stacking 3 times. Each stack grants 5% range damage, 5% crit strike chance, or ranged crit strike chance, and 5% movement speed. While at max stacks, special and elite range kills restore 15% toughness to you and allies in coherency. Okay, so on its face, this is a really good buff, right? 15% damage, 15% range critical strike chance, and 50% movement speed are good buffs. And the ability to restore 15% toughness to you and all allies around you every time you kill a special or elite with a range attack is really good. This only functions with range attacks, which kind of sucks, because it just, you know, means that you're only using this with like one type of build, so that's bad. But at the same time, the other really negative thing about this is that these stacks fall off altogether. This should be designed as a Disrupt Destiny style thing, like the Psyker has, where like you get kills and those stacks fall off one at a time and you get like 15 stacks and they just stay there forever. These, if you don't get a kill every 8 seconds, you lose all 3 of the stacks, you're back to square one. So in my experience, when I have done my uptime tests and see how good I can get this to stack up with the most accurate sort of long range ability to pick ranged elites and specials and stuff that I could possibly do with like Shredder, Auto Pistol, etc., etc., I was still only getting roughly 50% uptime on the fully stacked part of it, and then the lower stacked part of it was like 20% or so. So yeah, you're really like not having all that much uptime on these buffs. If you look at it on the whole, my average stack value across the whole game, in combat at least, was 2.5 stacks. Which means that effectively, because 2.5 stacks isn't 3 stacks, right? Effectively, I'm getting like, 10% range damage, 10% crit, and half the time I'm getting these restored toughness things, which may or may not have value. So yeah, like, the problem is they all fall off at once, and so if you hit a little bit of a dry spell or someone steals your elite kill, you lose all of them. And that's poop. That's poop and bad. So yeah, just not good buffs, but just not very consistent, which sucks. Okay, coming down here, we have to talk about these 3. Patient Hunter, duration of Vulture's Mark extended to 12 seconds. I'm going to give this the A tier. It's pretty much essential if you are going for Vulture's Mark. It's the only way you're going to sustain this at all is by having Vultures, by having this. 12 seconds is 50%, a whole 50% more than the other option. So yeah, definitely take that if you're going for Vulture's Mark. But outside of that, it's nothing really to write home about. Just making it 12 seconds instead of 8 seconds for all those buffs to fall off. And then over here, we have 2 fucking D tiers. Fucking garbage. Okay, so these talents are broken, as I've shown previously. First of all, we've got Vulture's Push. Killing elite or special enemies with ranged attacks knocks all enemies around you backwards. So the way this seems to work is like the higher the hit of damage that you do, the bigger the knockback is to like knocking enemies away or something. But like because you don't really hit enemies all that hard with your individual hits on your ranged here, enemies barely get fucking tickled by this. And the radius that you shove enemies back at is super small. It's like almost, they have to be like pretty much on top of you, already meleeing you, which sucks. It doesn't clear any space for you. It doesn't make it easier for you to maneuver around the map. So yeah, pass. Just don't take Vulture's Push. It currently does not do anywhere near enough to justify its existence, in my honest opinion. Thank you. Thank you, by the way, Raffalopoulos, for subscribing. Then we've got here Vulture's Dodge. Ranged critical strikes grant immunity to all attacks for 1 second. So this sounds so good, right? Oh my god, immunity to all attacks. However, this doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. Like, I don't know what's bugged with it, but okay, so it will work for all ranged attacks. The problem with that is you can either dodge all ranged attacks yourself, or if you're already going for Desperado, you just like do the ability, and then what the fuck is the purpose of this? So like with a range build, which is probably using Desperado, you're not using this. You're not using Vulture's Mark. So, or you're using this, but you're not using this because you're just already doing 1/2 of that. And for melee attacks, I think what the problem is here is in order to dodge the melee attack, it has to be a melee attack that is specifically targeted at you. So there are certain melee attacks that certain enemies have that like it swings at the space that you're at, and nobody else, if they like jumped in the way, could get hit by that. But almost every melee attack, like 2/3 or 75% of melee attacks, are just kind of like arcing AoE swings with hitboxes. So when you're fighting like a Plague Ogre, right, or when you're fighting a Chaos Spawn, the Chaos Spawn has that rolling attack where he like slaps the ground and comes forward at you. All of that hits you. Every single one of those hits you. The Poxwalker, every Poxwalker attack hits you. The Crusher, he has his side swipes will hit you. Sometimes. I don't know. I just don't know what's going on with this ability. I want to say it's bugged or something. It doesn't dodge like almost any melee attacks, which is what its main advertisement should be, because we're already pretty much immune to range attacks. Yeah, it's just not nearly consistent enough. And guess what, guys? You already have immunity to all ranged and melee attacks. It's just called sliding. Just be sliding. Always ABC. Always be sliding with a C. Because, yeah, if you just do this, then you are sliding, you're avoiding ranged attacks while you're sliding, and you're not getting hit by melee. So just slide around and gun while you're doing it. GG, easy. Skip this talent, D tier. Okay, over here into the middle tree, punching above one's weight, 15% damage against elites and monstrosities. I think this is just S tier. We like 15% damage against the things that actually have, you know, like health that needs to be dealt with. Pretty much every other enemy dies in like 1 or 2 hits for this class, and so this is good to round up some damage against the targets that actually have some HP to remove. So good. Then we get, like the wind, 15%, or sorry, plus 15 degrees sprint dodge angle. In addition, sprint dodging is available even when stamina is depleted. This is shit. Don't take this. What the fuck? I don't, like, who would ever take this? Basically, guys, what this means is, like, someone had a picture. I'm just gonna draw it real quick. Okay. So basically what this means is, like, okay, if your enemy... What the fuck? Put in my layers. Is it F6? Nope. F6? Nope. F7? Yeah. It's like the background layer. Okay. Alright, so basically, if this is your enemy... Oops, I need a freaking color. Red. If this is your enemy up here, right? And he's shooting this way. If you run like this, you have a really high ability, like a high chance to dodge these attacks. And there's a certain angle that you can like run like this or like this. See, like I'm running less than perpendicular towards this enemy, and they would still be missing me. What this ability allows you to do is run a little bit more angled towards the enemy without getting shot. Or you'll still get shot occasionally, but like, yeah, you'll still be counted as dodging. But like, it's, first of all, it's so like dangerous, like just playing this game, because like when you're one enemy shooting at you, you don't have ranged attack immunity to everything. You're running, if you choose to run at this angle, because you have this talent, right? You're doing your fucking trigonometry, and you're like, ah, yes, simple geometry. I can run this way, and this enemy won't be able to shoot me. What if there's an enemy right here, who now shoots at you? Or what if there's, sorry, I guess you'd be here. Well, this enemy right here now has a slightly better angle, so this guy can shoot you, but this guy can't. So you're just having to do all this stupid geometry in your head to figure out like exactly what angle you can run at, and this is so weak. Like, why would you take this? This class can literally slide forever. He has infinite slide duration. He has high enough stamina regeneration. Just take stamina regeneration in your curios, and you can slide forever, because during your bullet slide, you can actually regain enough stamina to do it again. So just slide forever, and you'll literally take 0 range damage. GG. Okay, great. Moving on. We have cheap shots, 15% damage against enemies that are fully staggered. I think this is C, maybe? I don't know. I've come down a lot about this one. It's so hard to get... yeah, you don't need the stamina to sprint dodge, but like, it sucks. Just slide. If you have stamina, you should be sliding instead of sprint dodging. Okay, so C tier here. The 15% damage against fully staggered enemies, it does require the enemy to be like staggered in the animation where they cannot continue to attack, like they're like opened up. I feel like for this class, by the time that you can do that, by the time you actually stagger the enemy with most of your attacks, they are dead, right? This class hits hard, and so with ranged attacks, if you're shooting a mauler and you get him to the point where he's staggered, he's probably just dead within a millisecond. 15% damage isn't doing anything there. You know, the real value out of damage increasing talents is when, from moment 1, you get that effect on enemies. But the problem with an enemy taking extra damage, 15% extra while fully staggered, is like, okay, we first of all are bad at staggering on this class, and second of all, by the time an enemy is staggered, like a boss or whatever, 15% isn't all that much. So, like, yeah, a 15% boost is something, but yeah, it's really, really not much in the grand scheme of things, and it's too high of a requirement. It's also a weird fit for this class that has almost no staggering abilities. So yeah, I'd say just skip this and go for some more defenses in your build. We do have a really nice one over here though. This is up to 50% cleave. Melee kills give 10% melee cleave for 5 seconds, stacks 5 times. This is super solid. This is like, if you are running any weapon that wants to do cleave attacks at all, any of the axes, crowbar, whatever it is, all these really like a certain amount of cleave. A lot of times pulverizing strikes is providing this cleave for you because it's up, but when it's not, this is going into effect. Cleave is good in this game, right, guys? Like, there is a talent on RBDs that gives you 75% cleave when you push. Oh yeah, shivs. Yeah, shivs like only hit like one enemy normally. They'll hit 2 with this and cleave through. Cleaving more enemies is good because it's more chances to get hyperviolence stacked up. But it just increases your ability to fight against hordes, and it's so nice. Yeah, like cleave is just a quality of life thing. It makes you safer into hordes, makes you DPS better into like stuff. And it's free. It's just so free. Like, this is as good as a blessing on a weapon. So I think this is definitely like an S tier talent here. Then, oh my god, we gotta talk about hyperviolence. Hyperviolence is insane. Kills grant 25% of the difference between the damage dealt by your attack and the health of the killed enemy. As melee damage, excuse me, it's getting late. As melee damage for 1 second. Wow. Holy shit. So first of all, this does activate with non-melee attacks. I wish you could use the rocket launcher and then swap back fast enough to do it, but you can't. But you could choose something with the revolver or the shotgun and get this effect just for fun stuff. This is insane. Like, this talent is truly insane. So the way this works is it is always rolling. It is always calculating. If you do an overkill, so like, you know, for instance, oh man, I deselected my layers again. God damn it. My layers. If you do an overkill, so like say you, say like this is the enemy's health bar. I don't know if I'm doing this. If this much is overkill to that line right there, if this much overkill happens, and then you hit the next enemy and you hit them this hard, and that much overkill happens, it actually replaces this overkill amount with this one right here, actively. It doesn't only roll every second, it rolls actively constantly with every single hit. So it is always checking, hey, did that last hit do even more damage? Did it get an even better overkill amount that I can draw from in the previous hit? So it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger over time, and you end up being able to just do a cascade effect. Desperado does instantly swap to ranged. You end up being able to do this cascade effect where you like go from a small enemy to a medium enemy to a big enemy, and if you're really skilled, and because this class is like super fast attacking, the more hits you can get within that 1 second window, because they all get that value added to their base value, the more hits you can do, it just multiplies this value. And the other multiplier here is that this adds to the base stats on the weapon. So like, a dagger does up to 6 times damage on a headshot critical, and this is why if you get a really big headshot critical hit on a small enemy with the dagger, and then you turn on a boss and hit him with that, with rampage and all that shit going, you'll do like 40k damage. Warhammer 40k, 1000 damage. So yeah, this is triple S for sure. Any other class in the game would be absolutely broken having something like this. This single node here is what makes melee on Hive Scum relevant at all, really. Yeah, it's like, this is like the only thing that keeps melee in Hive Scum relevant. If he just had this ability and this fucking Keystone, he'd be dead. He'd be like worse than Zealot in every single conceivable way. This makes him potentially have better DPS than Zealot in melee, But I feel like Zealot's probably still better because, you know, he can actually survive most times. Yeah, this would be broken. This is broken, but like, yeah, it's just, no, yeah, whatever. Okay, so really good. Take that. If you're going melee, take that. Hive City Brawler, up to 20% damage reduction depending on available stamina. Additionally, up to 20% melee damage depending on available or spent stamina. I feel like this is at least A. Maybe even S. 20% damage reduction is big. I think this is just easy S. Yeah, I think I agree. 20%, because remember, you have a lot of stamina in this class. You're usually taking at least one stamina curio, especially because you're usually taking this on like a melee configuration. But even if you don't, like, okay, so think about this, right? On a melee configuration, the only time you're really spending stamina is with melee, because you're like running around trying to get into enemies and melee them and shove them, whatever. Then you want to have additional stamina because you're using this talent over here, which is going to give you more attack speed for having a higher stamina value. So you're going to innately have a much higher damage reduction on average. And 20% general damage reduction applies to both your toughness and your health. So this is effectively having a talent that says, okay, yeah, it's like having an additional 20% toughness and additional 20% health in one curio or something for free, basically, well, for one talent point. And it can actually activate on the inverse. So if you're going with this and you're in Rampage, what can happen with Rampage is when your Rampage falls off, you lose all your stamina, right? And that absolutely tanks your attack speed because you lose all of this here. But this then activates and gives you 20% melee damage. So yeah, you're going to fall off a fucking cliff in terms of damage, but this can actually give you a little bit of a boost of a damage and help to keep you in that fight a little bit so you can keep stuff off of you while you're recuperating, which is quite nice. But yeah, even on Desperado builds, you're always taking this. I feel like every single build in the fucking game for this class takes this node right here. Takes the bigger they are or whatever it's called. What's this called? Punching one's weight. Yeah, everybody takes this one, and then this one is 1 point after it. On my Desperado builds, yeah, I take this. I take it on Stim Supply. It's just such a solid, like, we need defenses, and it's free defenses. Because when you're going ranged, you're just standing still and shooting. So you're like not even like using any stamina at all, so you're always capped at 20%. So yeah, S. And then Battering Momentum, hitting 3 or more enemies with a single melee attack grants 50% cleave for your next melee attack. The problem with this is like we've already got enough cleave. I'm gonna give this a C tier. I feel like we're good at this point. We've got an ability up here, our active ability for melee, that is going to give us 50% cleave if we take this node right here, which we should be taking. And then this is 50% cleave right here. If you're hitting 3, first of all, and you have to hit 3 enemies at the same time. Also, by the way, these used to be 4 enemies. They changed it, but it used to be 4 enemies that it required you to hit, which is fucking absurd. Who the fuck is doing that? But yeah, a lot of weapons on this class can't hit 3 enemies with a single melee attack. You know, like daggers, unless you're going for like light attacks, I guess. But with a bunch of cleave already. Yeah, just like not gonna be active all that much, and we're good on cleave at this point in the build. Okay, coming down here. Yeah, it's like you have to take this to get it, so you've already got enough cleave. It's so weird. Like, this is such a weird talent. Okay, Adrenaline Frenzy. I hate this Keystone. I really do. It's so bad. I'm having a hard time trying to say whether it's a D tier or a C tier here, though. Okay, so let's go ahead and read Adrenaline Frenzy while I read about it. Melee hits grant you a stack of adrenaline. Critical hit melee hits grant +1 additional stack. Not gaining a stack within 2 seconds will remove a stack instead. At 30 stacks, remove all stacks of adrenaline and gain Adrenaline Frenzy. Adrenaline Frenzy gets 10% attack speed and 25% melee damage lasting 10 seconds. Yeah, I think after reading it, I'm just going to go C. I think it's just really disappointing and just is inferior to other options, but could still be taken in like the off chance you're doing a build that for some reason doesn't use stims. I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but maybe. So this is like worse Blazing Piety, right? The Zealot has a keystone called Blazing Piety. Every time you get a crit or kill an enemy within a certain radius, it gives you a stack. once you're capped out on all the stacks, you get 25% crit or whatever, 15% crit, and then a couple of other myriad buffs, and they're really good. And it stays active as long as those kills are happening, and you lose stacks one at a time as they fall down. The problems here are multiple. The first problem is that when you cap this out, if you do a good job fighting and you get your stacks all the way up, it activates and you have 10 seconds in which to take advantage of this buff. And if you stop fighting at that point, if you have to back off from a fight, the buff just ends on its own, right? It's just going to be gone. You lose 100% of the buff in the next 10 seconds, no matter what you do, unless you just get the buff again. So this requires you to have essentially an infinite combat in order to sustain, and it requires you to consistently get lots and lots and lots of melee hits. Now, against hordes and stuff, this can be pretty easy to stack up, but when we have like individual enemies, you know, say that it's a game that like, say it's a game that's we're playing like Heresy or below, right? I feel like a lot of players that are less skilled are probably taking this. So Heresy or below, the hordes and the sizes of the engagements aren't all that impressive. So you'll fight and you'll get a number of hits and kills and stuff like that, and by the time you've got it done, this activates and you probably get about 3 or 4 seconds of fighting, and then everything is dead. And then in the time that it takes for the next wave to show up or for whatever else to happen, the buff falls off. And yeah, the fact that it doesn't decay slowly really sucks. I get what they're going for here, believe me, I do. It's like it's a variant on the Arbites. Where is it? It's a variant on this. This is what they were trying to do right here. This one. On combat ability, grant 2.5% strength for each stack, lasts 12 seconds, removes all stacks. This is what they were trying to do, where you build stacks of Forceful and then you cash them all in for this offensive bonus. So you're building up these stacks and then you cash them all in. The problem is that it cashes in automatically when you cap this out and you have no control over it. And then it just nukes itself from existence. Okay, so that's the first problem. The second problem is that this ability is an overlap with stuff that we already have. Because if you are going for Adrenaline Frenzy, it's a melee build, you are going Rampage. Nobody is doing Adrenaline Frenzy that is doing Stim Supply. If you're doing Stim Supply, you're doing Chemical Dependency, right? Adrenaline Frenzy characters are using Rampage. So when Rampage is active, you already have 50% melee power and an additional 25% melee power. So this is 75% melee power and 30% attack speed. Now, if we add in the 25% here, let's do the calculation on screen. I think I explained this in my video about this. I showed it, calculation wise. But okay, so before we had 175 as our baseline from the extra power, and then we multiplied that by 1.2, right? So now instead we'll have this for a total of 210%. So now instead we'll have a 200 DPS start from the additional 25, 50, and 25% power. And then we'll add an additional 10% attack speed here. So we're going to be multiplying that by 1.3. So you see there, we really only gained a very small, we gained 50 damage or 50 DPS when our starting point was 100, right? So the jump for activating Rampage, just Rampage itself, was pretty massive. And then this overlaps with this, and it just isn't like, you can't guarantee it's up at the right times. It's just a stat that we don't need, and it's pitiful because it's like already a stat we have. Now, if this is something to do with crits and scaling your crits, it would be very, very valuable. And the other thing I really hate about this is it's just super uninteresting and uninspired. This is a thing that I was really disappointed to see about this node, is that it reminds me a lot of this node right here. It reminds me a ton of Inexorable Judgment. where it's just like, okay, yeah, you get this like mild buff that's active sometimes, but Inexorable Judgment is like almost always active for the class, right? It's just like some basic ass stat boosts that have pretty bad uptime, and they overlap with stuff we already have. They don't make the build more interesting in any way, and then all of its modifiers are just like additional stuff that you like. Yeah, that you just, if you like can't get the hits in normal ways. Okay, so let's go through here and rank these. Okay, so first of all, Adrenaline Frenzy itself is C. Then, that's enough ranting about this. Then we have over here, Adrenaline Assassin. Weak spot hits grant 2 additional stacks of adrenaline. Regular melee hits grant none. I'm gonna go with D. I think this is just D. I think this is just the worst version of the regular one, right? Because remember, you can already get 2 stacks by getting a crit with the regular one, and being able to like just cleave at body level, right? Like what happens? Okay, so when you're in a horde situation, right, you hit the enemies, and your attack isn't perfectly at head level with almost any of your weapons, so you hit it like this diagonal slash. The first enemy you hit in the head, but everybody else you hit in the body, so you get no stacks out of all of them. Compared to the default version, where if you crit and you cleave across all the enemies, it gives you a bunch. Yeah, or the guy hits him in the arm or whatever. So you can lose stacks doing this. This one over here is like okay. I would say this is a B tier one. What this does, oops, I just opened DaVinci for some reason. What this does is it makes it so that killing blows give you 4 stacks, and elite killing blows give you 10 stacks. Yeah, this actually does make the ability probably better for certain weapons. If you're not a particularly fast attacking weapon, like a bone saw, right? Every attack you do with the bone saw is usually a kill. It's a high enough damage thing that it can get it up there. But like, yeah, so like this will enable you to activate it with slower weapons, like the Rashad or whatever, that sort of stuff. Because with the default version, you can't attack fast enough to effectively get this up without this. That's what this is for. This is for slow weapons. So this is what really annoys me about this talent, is like, you have to take keystones to cover your ass for the fact that this keystone is too weak for certain weapons to function with it. Okay, then down here we have Uncontrolled Aggression, increasing the duration of adrenaline to 4 seconds. I feel like this is stupid. Like the downside, Adrenaline Frenzy isn't going to fall off by decaying over time when you have a bunch of stacks, right? You don't need to extend the stacks. When you have, if you say you had like 29 stacks and you're like about to go into combat, right? Like you have like 10 seconds of the combat, you would lose 5 stacks. That 10 seconds wouldn't instead be like, oh man, I want to conserve these stacks. I want to only lose 2 stacks in that time. That's fucking worthless. Like that's not how you lose this ability. The reason this ability has downtime is because it only lasts 10 seconds and it activates immediately, which is what makes this valuable. So Uncontrolled Aggression here is D tier. And then this one is, I mean, I guess it's S tier for this ability, right? If you take Rampage, you have to take this. I guess in order to get here, you have to take Rampage. So this is like the only thing that makes Rampage worth anything at all. This increases the uptime of Rampage multiplicatively. Like this ability, this Keystone has terrible uptime. Having Adrenaline Frenzy, making it 20 seconds instead of 10 is mandatory. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe only A. Yeah, I think that D value is S tier. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Sure. I guess, yeah, I gave this one an A for that. Yeah, this is mandatory in order to keep this up with any good uptime. This is mandatory to keep that up for any good uptime. And then this one over here is 4% toughness, or sorry, 5% toughness each second. And B tier. I feel like in melee combats, you don't really care about percentage per second, right? Because like, think about it. Percentage per second like that is really good on classes like the Veteran because they take these little chip damage from range attacks. We already have that covered with this right here, right? The 30% over 3 seconds, with getting chipped by range attacks. And then for any burst of damage we take, we got that covered by getting our attacks in with our melee here. So yeah, that's I think that's true. Okay. All right, we're on to the last little set here, guys. Oh, there's some really good ones in here. All right, nice. Okay, over here on the left, we got loose formation plus 75% coherency radius. You know, I get what they're going for. Every class has one of these. I guess it's a free point for them to allocate. I just, what is this like? Is there anything in this class that is like coherency based outside of like the auras? Vultures, yeah. Vulture's mark. Replenishing there. What does Gunslinger do with coherency? Nothing. Oh wait, that's not Gunslinger. Yeah, that's Gunslinger. Okay, yeah. Duh, I'm fucking stupid. Okay, yeah, so like, yeah, this really just isn't useful. I'm gonna go D tier. Listen, this is like, this D tier and this D tier, these are malice. These are like hate D tiers. This is just a categorical. There's absolutely zero reason you should pick this sort of D tier. Like, just don't. Okay, I harbor no ill will against 75% coherency. It's just useless, is all it is. I don't have any real grandstand to say about it there. And the real problem that it has is it takes you to one node, this node right here, okay? And you have a second way of getting there. Well, I mean, maybe if this node right here was something that would be a worthy competitor, like it would be arguably in the similar tier. Oh, it's an additional Blitz charge? Oh, it's like one of the most possibly fucking fundamentally broken things in the game? This is insane. This class has the most powerful blitzes in the entire game, right? This takes chem grenades and rocket launchers from 3 to 4. That means you start with 4, and every time you pick up a pack, you get 4. This is nuts. Like, this is so nuts. And it means every time you pick up a juice from a veteran's supply kit, if they have field improv, you get 2 if you're playing on Havoc 40, or you get 4 if you're playing on any other difficulty. Everybody is going to take this, right? Everybody's going to take this. I don't know if it's as S tier, like triple S tier as these other ones are, but like, damn, like you're taking this. It's definitely S tier. I don't know if it's as strong as literal infinite ammo or literal infinite ramping melee damage, but yeah, like extra charge 100% of the time. Gonna be really, really good. Over here we've got an A tier talent. This is Toxin Coated Weaponry. Melee critical strikes infect enemies with +1 stacks of chem toxin. So the good side of this, the positive thing here is that chem toxin is good, right? Critting an enemy a couple times, like for bosses and crushers and stuff like that, this adds up. It does do some good damage. The problem is that for many enemies, a crit for this class means instant death with a melee critical strike, right? Most enemies, if not all enemies below a certain size, die instantly to a melee crit, either just by virtue of the melee crit itself or hyper violence. And the fact that this, because you kill them instantly before the stack is technically applied, you don't get that effect when it comes to Sample Collector or these things here. You're just killing them too freaking quickly for that to go into effect. So that has kind of an anti-synergy. It is still pretty dang good. I just don't think it's like, you could definitely skip this in melee builds, right? Especially if you're going for a melee build. Like, I didn't put this in my dagger build, even though the dagger has like super high crit. You'd be applying it all the time on bosses. It's just not like absolutely necessary because the base damage is just so much higher, like so freaking high, you'll blow everything up before it even gets to do its thing. But it can be really good on certain weapons like the bone saw, that just applying 2 stacks instead of 1 really allows you to get the stacks up on certain enemies. And yeah, quite nice. Okay, come down here in the next row. let's do actually go this way. Targeted toxin. Enemies you infect with chem toxin deal minus 15% damage. Monstrosities deal minus 30. I think this is like B tier. I don't feel any sort of like real negative way about this. There are certain builds you'll go for where this is like, hey, you got an extra point, you can pick this up. Your team will thank you. Dealing a little bit extra damage, especially on those monstrosities, it ain't half bad, right? It ain't half bad to nerf their damage a little bit. Unfortunately, right now, monstrosities aren't all that scary. Like, they just don't really deal a whole lot of damage. But, hey, 15% less damage. It's not terrible. It's B tier. It's like... Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Fine, C. I think, yeah. This is a collaborative effort. C tier, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, I think that fits with the original definitions. Yeah, C tier being like, okay, if you're going for a meme build that's focused entirely around, like my support focus build, I literally am not doing anything but shooting the needle pistol at stuff and putting toxin everywhere, so I don't have anything else to do. So I guess I'll debuff enemies. That's about it. Over here, we have this talent, which is called Toxin Mania, 5% base damage for each chem toxin infected nearby enemy, up to 15%. I will give this a... A? B? The problem, okay, so the problem with this ability is that when enemies are infected by chem toxin, they tend to die, right? Like, chem toxin is a damaging effect. So, like, you generally don't have a whole lot of enemies that have chem toxin on them for any amount of time before they all just keel over and are dead. This does, when in my testing, like, when I just have a whole game where I'm playing with this does have, like, a roughly, like, 1.7 to 2 stack uptime across the course of the game. And it is base damage, so it's pretty nicely multiplicative. It's just, like, there's not many situations where this is going to be active for any good amount of time. You know, it's good if you're going, again, for, like, needle pistol, because it'll boost those damages. Yeah, but I would say B tier here, because, like, yeah, for anything that's not using the needle pistol and going full toxin, it's not going to have any effect. Because for a melee build that's applying toxin, like with the bone saw, right? Almost every enemy you hit with the bone saw that gets the toxin dies before the next hits are going out. They're not staying dotted up. Now, if toxin on this class ended up working like the toxin on Acrid does in Risk of Rain, where the toxin can lower the enemies to 1 HP, but you have to deal the finishing blow to kill them, then this would be goated, because you just have 15% base damage for as long as you want it. But it just kills them, so it's hard to keep the uptime here. Down here, we do have a pretty good talent. This one is called Toxic Renewal. 15% toughness when an enemy infected by chem toxin is killed by a melee attack. This is good when you are going for the bone saw, generally, because the bone saw applies those innate toxin stacks, and this applies to both purple and green toxin on the weapon. It is a little bit too specific, though. Again, like I said, if you crit with the dagger, like the dagger can apply the stuff with coded weaponry, but at the same time, if you crit, you're already getting a ton of fucking toughness out of this. Yeah, it's like you're already getting melee attacks, you're probably already getting crits, so you're probably already coded up. Recuperative effects, like instant recuperative effects like this that have these requirements that, like, oh, it must be coated in chem toxin, are really hard to consistently get. And they're also, like, you know, you have to be missing the toughness to get the toughness back. Now, if this was, when you kill an enemy infected by chem toxin, you gain 5% over the next 3 seconds, it would be a lot better. But I think as it stands, I'm just going to give it a solid a B. And with the caveat that this is going to be mainly useful for, like, bone saw, slower attacking weapons that can actually apply some chem stacks before instantly killing their targets. Yeah. Okay, right here we got Pocket Toxin. Pocket Toxin is kind of weird. Let's go and read Pocket Toxin. Pocket Toxin, Blitz explosions infect enemies with 3 stacks of chem toxin. Yeah, it needs to be a damage over time effect thing, because it's like getting that instant boost is like it's just gonna be useless for you because it doesn't happen consistently enough. Pocket Toxin. Here's the thing with Pocket Toxin. Currently, insofar as I know, this has no effect with the chem grenade, What used to happen on the test server with the chem grenade, when enemies that are standing in the chem grenade die, they explode. They go like, they pop like the fucking like in Flood Infector forms do in Halo when you kill them, and they stagger and do direct damage to enemies around them. On the test server, what this did is every time one of those enemies exploded from the toxin, it would then apply, this also used to be 5 stacks of chem toxin, it would apply those 5 stacks to every enemy around it, which could go over that 6 stack cap. So you would throw it down and every enemy in the pool would take 6 stacks. Then the first enemy would explode and everyone would jump to 11 stacks. That would kill them and everyone would jump to 16 stacks. And so just immediately your game would lag the fuck out because everything would start exploding and dying, and it would just instantly kill Crusher. This would turn the chem grenade into an absolute 20-second screen wipe. Like nothing could get through it, because it would just instantly mulch everything that stepped in it, which was fucking hilarious. Yeah, it was like wildfire. It was like chem wildfire. But that was incredibly OP. This can also work for Boombringer, but Boombringer literally kills the shit out of anything it's vaguely pointed towards. I don't know what 3 stacks of chem toxin is doing. I don't know what enemies are surviving the rocket launcher explosion that are then being tickled to death by 3 stacks of chem toxin. So this literally is only effective for Blackout, which I will say for Blackout, very good, right? You will take this if you're going Blackout, right? So I'm gonna give this A tier with the caveat, only take this for Blackout. I think that's fair. Yeah, the only time you should take this this talent is if you're using Blackout grenades. If you are, it is A tier. It is very good. It makes your Blackout grenades much better. It's not absolutely mandatory, but it makes them very, very good. And yeah, that's when you should take it. But things that are absolutely mandatory: Sample Collector. Kills replenish 1% of your cartel special cooldown. Killing chem toxin infected enemies instead replenishes 2%. Okay, so this is not direct kills, it is any kills. So chem explosions, like the from the needle pistol, the enemies standing in this right here with chem grenade, them dying to the damage over time effect, whatever it is, killing an enemy that's already affected by it, whatever it is, it's going to give you 2%, 1% for everything else. Getting your stim back faster is so fucking important. It is crazy, crazy important. 1% is a big deal. It is a really, really big deal because it adds up. And this, like having more uptime in your stims are incredibly valuable. Even a 45-second cooldown stim with like 15% crit and 20% strength, that's a big buff. And having that at the right time can make a lot of difference. And this also has hyper synergy with stim supply here, because if you can drop stim supply and then with practice deployment there, get this back up super fast, you can drop another one, and you can drop another one, you can drop another one, and just keep doing this. Yeah, and it's super easy just to get these back up. So this is a guaranteed mandatory pick on the class. Stims are good. You should want more stims constantly. GG. All right. Oh, one more thing. While I'm talking about stim supply, I forgot to mention, stim supply can in fact be used with the stims that you would find in the mission, but you are not allowed to equip a regular stim or like a cartel special if you're doing that. Unfortunately, as it currently stands, this is just not a very good way to play the class. Personally, what I think they should do here is they should make it so that the stims that you find in the mission, like the yellow, red, green, and blue stims that you normally find, you can use them multiple times as opposed to the one time that you can now use them. Because yes, while their effects are stronger, being able to only use them one time and otherwise you can receive no buffs out of your stim supply at all is really shitty and sucks. And losing out on the cartel special being like active, I don't know, 100 times in a mission is a really big hit. I don't know why you would play that way. So yeah, as that currently stands, it's a funny little meme option they give you there, but it's not good enough to justify ever using actually. And finally, we are down here at Chemical Dependency. Chemical Dependency grants you a stack of Chemical Dependency every time you use a stim. And this can apply on you getting the effect of a stim. So this means if you step in an ally's Chemical Dependency and you have, step in an ally's stim supply and you have the Keystone Chemical Dependency, or an ally uses a cleansing stim or a damage stim or whatever on you, then you get a stack of this, which is really, really good. So that stacks up quickly. This ability, this Keystone, has 100% uptime. You'll see, I literally pulled up my stats, my uptime calculator. I had a 97% uptime for having full stacks of this ability, because it's literally just you have to press the stim every time it's on cooldown, and then you just get it. And for each stack, up to 3 max stacks, you get 10% ability cooldown reduction. Now, this is something that people undervalue. People think that, like, oh my god, the veteran's tactical awareness is so much better, right? Because, yeah, it's 100% for 3 seconds every 3 seconds. That's double. This is only 30%. But remember when we were talking about Zealot a while ago, and I pointed out that this node right here is probably the best Zealot cooldown node, because 50% ability cooldown regen all the time is just going to be better than 75% sometimes, right? This is always ticking, and what that means... Why does this look so weird and washed out? What is going on here? Okay, I don't know what's going on with this page. It looks washed out as fuck. Yeah, but this means that this is just always, always, always going on, and that gives you a lot of value. This is easily the most valuable Keystone for Desperado if you're going for Desperado, because Desperado has a long-ass cooldown, and you want it back faster. In fact, every one of these abilities wants their cooldown back faster. Every one of these abilities is, like, so powerful to have up, right? You are doing no melee damage comparatively when you are not doing, not having Rampage active. Having Stim Supply up versus not up is literally like a 3x multiplier in you and your team's damage, and having Desperado down versus up is like, yeah, like you are invincible or you're not, right? So having a cooldown is pretty fucking important. Now, to add to that, first, so S tier, right? This is the Keystone you're taking. That's the decision you're making here. Pick this Keystone in every build is where you should be starting. The starting point for this one. Then from there, we go to maxed out chems. Each stack of dependency now lasts for 60 seconds, but max stacks are increased to 4. So this sounds bad, but it's actually quite manageable, because a 60-second cooldown is conveniently just enough that you can run a one-sided stim tree. You can just get one type of buff and comfortably get this. So most people are just going to take the damage side, right? How much are you really getting out of grabbing, you know, the cooldown in addition to this, or the attack speed in addition to this? Yeah, it's something. It can be pretty good, but if you are going for a build that is not stim supply, I believe you should be taking this, because then you can, or like, especially for melee, I think melee is probably more important to take this with. The ranged attackers, they definitely want that attack speed and reload speed sort of side of the tree, but this makes this just makes this ability even better, right? And it makes these other two things even better too, which we'll talk about in a second. So yeah, just take the red stim, take the attack damage and the crit or the finesse or the rending, and just go one-sided. You'll get plenty of damage, and now your stim will be up more often. Plus, now you're gonna have 40% ability cooldown, and you can get this node right here. Using a stim replenishes 50% toughness. Additionally, each stack of dependency grants 5% toughness damage reduction. So now you can have either 15 or 20% toughness damage reduction. As we said, this class's difficulty is not in regenerating its toughness, it's in keeping its toughness. And this is one way you can keep that toughness. You actually get quite tanky when you have both of these. And the really nice thing is what you can do here is you could actually run a very low cooldown stim. You could even not take a couple of the final points. You could take like a 3-point stim, right? Just to get 12% strength. And now you're gonna get 12% strength like for 15 seconds every, 40 seconds or so. And then you get 40% CDR, and you get 20% toughness damage reduction, and every 30 seconds you can press a button and get 50% of your toughness back instantly. So this is actually quite good with the, I was running a build that had literally 1 point allocated in the stims, and it's like, okay, every literally every like 10 seconds, every 15 seconds, you can get 50% of your toughness back. Makes you pretty damn hard to kill, honestly. You can get into some situations and be like, nope, 50% toughness. Get the fuck away from me. So yeah, pretty nice here. And then finally, Chem Enhanced. Each stack of dependency additionally grants 5% critical hit chance. So, oh, by the way, just for a little bit of insight into how the test server was, Chemical Dependency used to give you 15% ability cooldown reduction for each stack, and Chem Enhance used to give you 10% crit chance. So yeah, you could have like over 120% crit chance in the class, and you could have 60% ability cooldown constantly. So that's what you lost out on. But yeah, so Chem Enhanced, that crit chance, that 20% guaranteed, 15 to 20% guaranteed crit chance is S tier for sure. So let's go ahead and award these. I think that I'm going to give this, what is this called? Maxed out chems an A tier, because there are certain builds that you don't want to choose this in, such as ranged attacking builds where you want to have both the attack damage and the reload speed and stuff. That's what you'll want to go there, so you just can't quite swing that. But otherwise, it's really, really good. Then for this middle tier one, also an A tier. Just if you're going this Keystone, just 15% toughness damage reduction as a base effect is really good. It also gives you that extra toughness when you stim up, so not bad, and just really good to pick. And then S tier for this bottom one, between 15 and 20% crit chance, and crits are huge enablers for this class. So if you're going to choose one node in here, you should just go down like this. So there you go, guys. Everything established, in my opinion. So as we can see here, there are like some pretty like archetypical builds. You'll see this pattern in a lot of my builds. I mean, obviously this is my pattern because I came up with the tier list here. But like, you know, a typical ranged attacker, stim supplier, like infantry autogun build, you would come up here, you'd get this, then you come down here, you go over to the right, you'd come down here, grab your crit, go in the center, and then you'd come over here and take both of these nodes, you'd come down and do this, you go over here and do this and this, and you go over here and do this, and there you go. So like, yeah, that's how you should be. That's why I do these, is like, you should be building your framework around the really strong, the A's and the S's, and then splooge out, that's the wrong word, splash out, splooge out, guys, and grab some other stuff that's like A and B tier that's in the proximity, and build your build out from there. So yeah, there you go. Okay, guys. So anyway, let me know what you think. Was there any talents that I underrated or overrated? Post them down in the comments. Let me know, and I think I haven't done this for the Psyker yet, so I'll do the Psyker sometime in the coming weeks. You can look forward to that. And thanks for watching. Anyway, guys, take it easy. Remember to subscribe if you made it this far, and splooge out. Bye. All right, and then you, yeah, Hive Scum, splooging. I don't think you would use every modifier every time with every build on that though. All right, guys. Well, I want to play one game, and then I gotta go bed. I gotta go bathroom. So let's play a game. Do you guys like my banner? I made that. Bum, bum, bum. Listen, the 4-stack node is on that upper side of A. But I don't think it's because it's not every single build. There's like there are certain builds that don't use it. But remember that those ones are caveats. Those are like caveats within if it's nested, underneath the Keystone, it has to be ranked for the Keystone, right? It's like the Keystone itself is C tier, so that's an A tier if you're stupid enough to pick that C tier Keystone, right? Probably Havoc. Maybe not. I want to shoot. I want to shoot the boot. I'm gonna do infantry out again. We purge, no salvation. There is no salvation for the damned. This is Bernie. You may love him, but he hates you. He hates everybody. Except for Mom. Bernald. He's the channel mascot.
Do you seek to prove yourself?
Oh god, we were doing rotten armor. Okay, fuck that. I'm just gonna do a regular game so I can just get my life over with. No, I saved that last one. We won in the final rank of that one, and then we lost the last two. We didn't have a very strong team. We were falling apart. Yeah, I'm gonna do a high intensity, obviously. I'm not gonna do a fucking, like, isn't match or anything. Yeah, just join up. Just a quick game, guys. One slot left. Who wants it? $19 Fortnite car. Yeah. This kind of is kind of like that, yeah. Okay, good enough. All right, I'm just gonna roll it randomly. Wait for you. Oh, wait, hold on. We'll wait. Do you have me added? Uh-oh. You have me added, right?
I've been reviewing your record, Sergeant Major. Large sections of it appear to...
Yeah, I think RimWorld's a great soundtrack for background stuff. Because it's like one of the only soundtracks that, first of all, is not claimed by like a million YouTube things. And the it's also like just not obtrusive at all. Yeah, it's just like it is in just like it is in game, where it's just super chill. You're not getting ripped out of the game by the music playing. Just kind of comfortably in the background. No ads, no ads, no ads. Guys, I have installed this mobile game. And ever since, I've deleted all of their games on my phone. Do you guys get those ads too? Fucking trash. AI generated slop. Alright, we gotta play Hellsinger. The fuck did that dog just get away? Got him. Fuck. Ah, that hurt. I'm fine. It almost knocked me down. Something very cathartic about this. If there was gun jamming in this game. Uh-oh. Well, that's me down. Oh, God, we're all down. I'm actually coming to the point where I don't think that either the auto pistols or the like the stub pistols are any good compared to the shredder or this thing. These are just better. Goodbye. Ow. Oh, Grimoire. You probably got a bad mod in there. That'll be right. Yeah, it's just that it doesn't have like very competitive like anything, right? It needs to have better armor penetration. If it had armor penetration, it would have a space as a gun. Oh shit. I mean, but like, because there's different classes, they could just make like weapons that have certain strengths and weaknesses on each class. So this class needs a ranged weapon that has penetration. So they need to. Oh shit. I got blocked in my dodge. This is to be like the most metal heavy fucking game ever. I just wanted to shoot my stupid gun. I can't even get to do that. Are you not coming back, Self? That's okay. It can be a loss. I for some reason thought that South had come back. I guess this is done. Alright guys, well, that's fun. I did some shooting. But yeah, this class can't deal with armor. It sucks, doesn't it? Alright guys, well, thank you for watching my little tier list. I'll see you real soon. I don't know if I'll stream tomorrow. We'll find out. Have a good Christmas night. And take it easy, guys.